Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television, and then do it all over again the following episode. My name is Colton Brown. Joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. You usually say good afternoon. I think your sense of time is getting better, and I appreciate that for one. Good evening to Mr. Henrique Jaime as well. Coming back for even more Marvel, finishing our coverage of Spider-Man. Yes. To be fair, but it's been a busy year, as we talked about on that episode, and we're going to be plenty busy this episode, unpacking the entirety of Spider-Man: No Way Home. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Good evening to you both. It's like three of us are here, coming from different cities, different dimensions almost, but together we're
worlds
here.
Colliding.
We're here to record this podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be a treat because it's a film that pretty much from minute one just it doesn't hold back. It throws a lot at you and expects you to roll with the punches. So I'm excited to finally discuss it. I think we've shared some muted reactions in our text message chain, but we have not gotten into many specifics. So it's going to be very exciting. Of course, we'll do no spoilers. We'll do a recommendation. We'll do a spoilers when we get there. I kept the episode, I think, light on news because I anticipate that we will talk a lot. We talk a lot. That's how it goes. We'll talk a lot about Spider-Man. So look forward to some conversations on Spider-Man: No Way Home very shortly. I did want to say we're a few days before Christmas right now. By the time this episode goes up, Christmas will have come and gone. So I wanted to say Merry Christmas on air to the both of you, and I want to say that I hope our listeners have had a nice Merry Christmas as well.
Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. So it's weird to me. It doesn't feel like Christmas is only a few days away. It hasn't quite hit me yet, but by the time I listen to this, I'll be like, yeah, it happened. It happened. So we have that. Hope everyone had a lovely time. Opened some presents. Maybe got some snow, depending on where you are. Probably not Andrew. Andrew's probably not getting any snow.
It actually rained all day today, though.
So he's going to get a nice 75 degree day with a little bit of rain in the afternoon, and then just miserable humidity for the rest of the evening. That's my bold prediction.
It's like the only time of year that might be kind of nice down in Florida.
No.
Yeah, it's
no? Still no?
No.
It's nice if you need a break from the cold, but otherwise it's probably not so nice.
It's not nice
Still
when you need a fucking break. Give me a break. I would like to feel cold.
Come on, come back to Philly. Come visit
here.
us.
We're heading to North Georgia in
there you go.
It'll be a little better.
Week, so
it'll be a little better. Go. Yeah. So we will be doing some fun facts on this episode about Spider-Man: No Way Home. However, I am going to start the episode on a little bit more of a somber note. This is something that I debated talking about in our Spider-Man bonus episode where we covered the Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films, but I decided to hold it for this episode just because it's kind of the usual structure of the episode, and that one was kind of the weird bonus episode where we skip all the bullshit and just get into things, and where's the fun in that? Unfortunately, my Uncle Doug passed away a few days ago before recording this. He was 61 years old, so it was a shock to me. He'd had some medical issues over the past few years, but things basically took a turn for the worse very, very quickly. So it's been kind of hard to process that, to be honest. So I've been kind of working through that. It's one of those things that doesn't quite hit you until you really let yourself think about it for a little bit. And so I'm kind of in that mode, in that moment right now. And the reason I bring it up here is beyond the obvious of just saying that, just trying to work through grief and obviously sending my best wishes to my dad. He was my dad's brother. Sending my best wishes to his wife. I'm sure that my dad's probably the only one listening to this, but I hope that he at least finds some comfort in hearing a few things. he was a very cool uncle. To be fair, I have a lot of cool relatives. You know what I mean. So, but he was the uncle who didn't have any kids of his own. But he kind of took he took the nephew's end when we came to visit. He had a great sprawling property. Always had a couple of golden retrievers running around, being wild, having a good time, catching tennis balls and playing fetch and all that. But he always treated me very, very well anytime I visited, and I had a great time. And in fact, Andrew actually had the opportunity to meet him at least once that I can recall.
Right.
And as a sort of fun fact, I think to tie it into this podcast, if anyone's visited our website, watchreviewrepeat.com, you may have noticed that there's an About Us tab where I wrote a little thing about myself. Andrew has a little thing about himself, just talking about us. There's a picture of us. We have some baby pictures on there, which is very fun. But there's also a more recent picture of that. I'm not sure exactly when it was taken. I think probably 2017-ish would be my guess. But it's Andrew and myself, and it's actually taken on my Uncle Doug's porch is where that picture was taken.
Yeah, right on the pool.
I'm holding up a Florida Cracker. Andrew's holding up a Blue Moon. And we're on the porch poolside. Had a great pool. So yeah, I just it's just kind of fitting to say something I think on this podcast when that has been the only picture on the About Us section since we launched the website a few months into having the podcast going. So check it out, watchreviewrepeat.com. Go to the About Us tab. It's just watchreviewrepeat.com/about-us. But I wanted to say that, and I wanted to say, rest in peace to my uncle, and I hope that I know that my dad's kind of unraveling the complicated web of his personal affairs right now, and so that's obviously not an enviable or easy task to have to go through. So I'm hoping that everyone makes it through, and we'll be okay on the other end of it, but it's certainly tough in the moment. So I did want to say that. However, I need you guys to bring the energy back up. I need you guys to bring. I want fun facts about Spider-Man. I want fun facts about Spider-Man. Not my best JJJ impression, but I hope everyone understood what I was going for there. I'm trying to myself bring the energy. I'm trying myself to bring the energy back. So
back to you. Let me feed you energy, sir.
There you go.
All right, bring it back. Talk to me.
This is probably the most fun fact that I can probably come up with, I think.
All right, I'm all ears.
Some of you might know I'm a bit of a scientist myself, and you might not know this, but some spiders can change colors to their surroundings.
Oh.
It's a defense mechanism.
It was like changing. It was like changing your costume or something. There you go.
That's all I got.
Are you being? Hold on, I have a question. Are you being Peter to Harry, or are you being Harry to MJ? Are you trying to woo us, or are you trying to be a good best friend? Spitting your science knowledge.
I was trying to spit my science knowledge.
There you go.
Okay, all right.
So we also compounded Norman in there too. We sprinkled a little Norman.
Well, I got the Norman up front, but then you went in a different direction and you caught me off guard. I was just like, I've heard this before. I know where those words came from. They came from Spider-Man. So anyway, it fits the criteria. It's both fun and it's a fact. And it brought me joy.
Besides the scientist part, I'm not a scientist, but
you're something of a scientist yourself.
Something of a scientist
there
myself. That's it.
Yeah, well, he's read a few Wikipedia articles in his day. That's apparently more than most, as we've learned over the past couple of years. So thank you for that, Enrique. Do you have anything to share?
I hope you keep doing a animal themed fun fact for every animal themed superhero or movie related thing we have going forward.
Okay.
I enjoy that. Yeah. Because didn't you bring out a spider fact for Black Widow? Isn't that where this first came up?
Did I really?
I think I said something about it.
You said
Andrew,
it.
Andrew may have added to that. I don't specifically recall. But
No. I think yeah. That sounds like someone.
One of us did for sure.
I'm not quite sure, but it'd be pretty. I mean, Funny if I get drawn to that every time they go.
Who remembers that far back? That was like a solid 5+ months ago. So
yeah. No, that actually ties into my fun fact, I would say. And obviously not to go back, but, definitely sure we all send our thoughts over to you and your family. Uncle sounded like a very, very nice gentleman. And I would say my fun fact is not so much fun, but it made me think a lot after watching this movie. And with, obviously, COVID hasn't gone away, and it's been, we don't need to bring it up in detail, but it pushed everything back. But like the order that it pushed back movies in for Marvel and Sony, I thought was kind of interesting, because I was trying to think back when things were supposed to come out, and Doctor Strange was supposed to come out like in May of this year, right? And then Spider-Man was supposed to come out in July. So, after watching this movie, and we can talk about it in spoilers, like I'm thinking, how does this movie fit in like afterwards, right? Just like the timeline, and like, did they have to make changes to make, because obviously Doctor Strange is in this movie, that's not a spoiler, but like it just made me think a lot about how that movie is going to be, how it would have been different if Doctor Strange had come out before Spider-Man. Like, I don't know. I think we'll have to wait and see if that made a difference or not, but it's not often that Marvel like changes their like the order of movies that come out around that much. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier, obviously, and WandaVision, but they didn't really connect, Right.
But it did. I mean, I know at least with regard to Falcon, you had Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, who I think technically was introduced in that show, and then
ties in
made her debut, and then was in Black Widow. And I think originally it would have been the other way around with the normal schedule, but that was pretty insignificant. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. Here you're talking about the main character of the Doctor Strange sequel, and a very important supporting character in this, and they both deal with some commonalities. There's some multiverse stuff that happens in both. I mean, one's literally in the title, and one's basically the premise of the other one, so that's not really a spoiler either. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting question to think, like, did they shuffle things around? Did they
the plot change?
I know that Doctor Strange is, I think, either currently undergoing reshoots or recently underwent some reshoots, and reshoots are pretty standard for movies, obviously, but maybe they're doing it specifically to make it feel a bit more cohesive with what happens in this movie. So I don't know. Yeah, but we don't have long to wait for Doctor Strange. It'll come out next May. So we're waiting a whole extra year compared to how we would have been originally. But I'll be curious to see where they take the Doctor Strange sequel. We'll talk about that at some point. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe once Doctor Strange 2 is out, then we can kind of have that post-mortem and figure out, like, yeah, this is what we had to do. This is what we changed, blah, blah, blah. But obviously Marvel, being secretive as ever, is not going to let us in, behind the curtain. For a good while anyway. So, all right. Anyone have anything else to offer?
That's it.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to talk some news. We don't have a lot of news on tap. I tried to, like I said, keep it short and sweet. We've got a few good things. I tried to not throw a bunch of crap in there. I think some things we can certainly talk about. And the first thing we're going to talk about is an adaptation of something that has, I think, really been in development for a long time. I think initially as a feature film with District 9's Neil Blomkamp for the longest time. Then there was like a series of fucking ads that were live action, and now we're finally just getting a television series based on the acclaimed video game franchise Halo, which has been around since our childhoods.
Yeah.
I remember the first one coming out. I think there's probably... I don't know.
Mountain Dew fueled nights.
Yeah.
Split screen. Oh man,
it was swords only or that kind of thing.
Those sticky grenades.
Yeah.
Oh.
I grew up with Halo. I played the first one a lot. a lot. Andrew and I played it a lot. I think my dad fucking played with us at one point in time, so like that's some shit. Halo 2 I think was a big one as well. And then Halo 3 I think is probably the last one I really put any sort of significant amount of time into. But 4 and 5 have come out since. Infinite, I think, literally just came out either earlier this month or last month, something like that for Xbox and I guess probably PC. I think everything's shared between them now. But it's a very, very big, long-running video game franchise that's sold lots and lots of video games. So it's kind of surprised that it's taken this long for things to come together. But we have a first look for this. It's a Paramount Plus series. It's going to be streaming there exclusively next year, 2022. So anyway, it's a Halo series in live action. How does it look to you guys?
So Enrique probably heard my responses as I watched the trailer. I said, "Ooh, that's Master Chief," and then at the end I said, "There's a good chance this is going to be dog shit."
So I heard your first reaction, and then I went off to watch the trailers myself in preparation for this episode. So I didn't hear this last bit.
So give us your take.
So what is it about
it's
it that's
just
not
such a
maybe
slippery slope. Like what like I felt like the I can still vividly remember your first introduction to Master Chief. You know what I mean? When you're on that gunship or that frigate or whatever it is, and it's getting all fucked up, and it was, I don't know, it was cool.
Games are pretty classic.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it just makes me. I mean, is this going to be a big characterization thing, or is it going to be a big high sci-fi epic action thing, or is it going to kind of like split the difference? Because I don't need an emotionally charged Halo show. Like, if you want to grow into that,
sure,
that's cool. But I feel like you need to hit the ground fucking running with Halo. But it seemed to be that there was a lot of characterization and stuff instead of just. I mean, there's
shooting and explosions and aliens.
Yeah, Space Marines. That's what it is. If anything, it's supposed to be like live, die, repeat without time travel. You know what I mean? Just Space Marines and like genetically engineered fucking guys kicking ass, and you got that one guy, the gunny guy, the guy with the cigar. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know his name.
And then it's supposed to go into like a semi-horror kind of thing. Like, you remember the first time you're introduced to the Flood?
Oh, yeah, that was creepy.
Terrifying. Yeah, right? So it's supposed to be super... I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be good. I think it could very easily just nosedive into shit, too, though. So
that's fair. I get that. I get that sentiment.
Impressed, so...
Yeah, I was like, okay, it looks like Master Chief share the same sentiment there, and there's a lot of like, it's definitely a teaser kind of thing. So it's one of those that, like, if you like, we didn't really see any of the show. It's just like, this is what Master Chief looks like, and that's cool. Like, I have some affinity to Halo. It's not something I've gone back to in many years, but I agree. I guess at least I'm more hopeful for a TV show than a movie. Like, I just don't see them making this into a good movie. And like, I haven't really watched much on Paramount Plus, but I actually have a login for my dad, so I might be checking this out, and I can let you know if it's worth it.
For sure. I mean, okay. I'd be down for a good Halo.
It has potential to
for
be
sure.
good.
For sure.
Like, just based on
it's like a Mass Effect movie.
The world. And we know that we talked about they're doing a TV show for that, and like there's no reason that it can't be good because the source material's there. I think the big difference, I think maybe the toughest thing to adapt about at least certain types of video games is like a lot of the gameplay doesn't really need to translate 1-to-1. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want an 8-hour TV show. I mean, I don't think I want an 8-hour TV show where 6.5 hours is some dude shooting a bunch of fucking aliens, the whole time. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't really work. You need some way to fill the time. But I think the
relationship in the first game was all Master Chief and Cortana, right?
Right. Yeah, that's just it. You can fill a lot of time with those two characters interacting. And I wonder how they're going to approach it in the sense that, like, in a video game, most of the time you're kind of a faceless protagonist, and that's very much true with Master Chief. Is what he looks like.
Yeah.
With the full set of armor on, you really don't know what he looks like underneath the helmet. Here, are they gonna try to, give you a lot more backstory, or are they gonna go Mandalorian with it and very sparingly take the helmet off for very important story beats if they so choose? You know what I mean? Like, what's the approach gonna be? Mandalorian, I've talked about, had a very video game-esque type structure to at least the first season. So it could work. You could make a video game-y type series and it could work because it did with the Mandalorian. But I just, how close are they going to stick to the games? Is it going to capture that sort of the tone and feel of the games? Is it going to capture that relationship between Master Chief and Cortana? Or is it going to be a bunch of side characters that no one gives a fuck about? When we get Master Chief in a couple scenes here and there, being a gruff badass. I don't know. We'll see. It has potential. I think that the set design and production design looks like they put some money into it, which is good. I think this is the kind of thing that needs it. I think it could work as a movie because I think it's a simple enough story that it could have been condensed into a 2 hour 15 type thing with some really tight big action set pieces. But it could also work as a TV show. There's enough to the world to make it work as a TV show.
The thing that frightens me the most, did you ever play the game where, I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was a Halo game where like the whole centerpiece was you're playing as like a squad?
I think ODST, I think is what it is.
ODST. Yeah,
right. It was like it's like a spin-off of sorts where it's just like, where's Chief? Where's Chief?
It was shit. And then there's a sequence in there where you got like it kind of like sequences through a couple of different master, I can't remember what they're called, but like Space Marine people, you know what
Spartans?
I'm talking about? Spartans, yeah. It goes through a couple. You can see a couple of different Spartans, and they look all badass with their different colored suits and stuff. I think they're black. It's like I don't want the squad. I don't need it. I don't want it. Just give me Chief and Cortana. That's it.
Would you take a comedy where it's like the red and blue, red versus blue or whatever that series things used to be? It's just like it's just multiplayer. It's just like using all the memes and everything. It's like I shoot laser beams and that kind of stuff.
It really takes me back. I remember that.
Oh man, I totally forgot about red versus blue. That's the deep cut. That's like a early YouTube. I feel like kind of deep cut. So. Good stuff. My one reservation is I don't think we see a single alien in this entire first look.
I don't think so.
It's like where are the Covenant? And
are you hearing Cortana? Is that Cortana talking?
I know Cortana's in it for sure. I think it might be the same voice actor as the games, which is probably a solid move.
That's cool.
Don't quote me on that. I don't know that for a fact, but I think it is. Which makes sense. She should just be like a little visual effects. She should just basically be Syl from the story. Is what Cortana should be.
You pulled the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, so it is the same voice actor as the games. So I think that's a good move. I think that's a really smart move. It's not the same voice actor from the games that's playing Master Chief, but that could be fine. That could be fine. It doesn't have to be a perfect, like I said, 1-to-1 adaptation of it, but respect the source material and use what works, and if you're gonna add new shit, then make sure that it's good. That's all.
Yeah, just
no big deal.
Shit.
There you go.
Cool shit.
So, yeah.
I want some cool shit.
Cool shit. Yeah, a Halo series should be ripe full of cool shit. If it's not, you've done something wrong. You've fundamentally failed your task.
That's it.
All right. Any other thoughts? Halo
That's it.
series. Paramount Plus. All right, we'll get a full trailer for it at some point. I'm sure we'll revisit it then. Maybe we'll get a better sense of where things are heading in terms of where we should place our expectations. Let's talk some MCU news. In fact, I think actually technically the only piece of MCU news on this MCU episode. Destin Daniel Cretton, who you may recognize, he was the director on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which we talked about for about 5 hours a few months back, if you guys remember that as well. He is coming back for more. He's going to write and direct a sequel to Shang-Chi. And additionally, he's going to be developing a new MCU series for Disney Plus, of which we don't have any information about. So it could be
Iron
Shang-Chi
Fist.
adjacent, it could be anything else. It could be Iron Fist.
Oh,
Probably
shit.
won't be. It probably
Probably
won't
not.
be Iron Fist.
Give me some fucking
I-
dragons.
I am not opposed to, again,
You got to recast
Shang-Chi's
that one,
sequel
though.
being Shang-Chi and the Immortal Iron Fist. You want to call it that? Make it that? Fine. If you want
Oh,
to dunk
that would
on
be
Danny the
fucking-
whole time, it's fine. But yes,
Danny.
a recast could be in order. I would not be opposed. You can bring back the most of the Netflix cast. Fen Jones, I'm sorry. We can leave you. It's the damage has been done. Maybe it's not your fault.
Cinnamon wheat ice
Maybe it
cream.
is. Maybe they didn't give you enough time to work out and do your fight choreography and stuff. But I'm holding you responsible for at least part of it enough that I'm good. I'm good.
You
No,
don't
thank
want
you.
it.
Yeah,
no, thank
no.
you. I don't want it. So what do you guys think? Shang-Chi sequel, Disney Plus series, Iron Fist or otherwise? What are you guys
take it.
thinking about this?
Yeah, I liked what he did in the first one. I'm all for like you did one right, and you got a vision for a second one. By all means, the sequel is not always as good, but John Watts now did a trilogy. Like you're getting obviously Ryan Coogler's gonna do a second one, so I'm totally on board with like you got one movie and you did it well. Like go for a second one, and so. I don't know what the like the Disney Plus series could be. As much as I like Shang-Chi, I kind of also hope he like tackles something different just to bring one more element. I don't have any specific characters in mind other than Iron Fist, but yeah, I liked the style. I'm ready to see it both on the big screen and the small screen, so that's cool.
Yeah, I could see the Ten Rings maybe being part of
That's true.
the Disney Plus series if it's going to be something that's tied to that first film. But other, there's a million characters in the Marvel universe that they could certainly
Right.
I'm not saying that all million of those characters necessarily deserve a Disney Plus series or anything like that, but certainly there are many avenues that you could go. And so, if he's content with playing with the Shang-Chi sandbox within the first and second films of that, maybe he wants to do something outside of that realm for a Disney Plus series. And it's clear that he has a good working relationship with Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios and company. So I'm excited to see more. Shang-Chi is, definitely one of the better. I think two. Before we talk about Spider-Man, I think of the three we got prior to Spider-Man, I think it was my favorite of the Marvel Studios films that we've gotten this
Same.
year.
Mhm.
I think we were all on the same page.
Yes.
I think we probably hit on that on the Eternals episode that we did. So yeah, sign me up. Give me more. I'm okay with that. It'll be a few years, I'm sure, before any of these projects see the light of day, but that's okay. Take your time, do it right, and we'll be waiting. So yeah, that's that. You guys want to move on to the big two trailers that we have left?
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
All right. The first one that we are going to talk about of those two, it's a big one. It's Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Got an official trailer, also courtesy of Paramount. This is just a few months away, April 8th of 2022. And it feels like they're upping the ante. They're feeling a bit more confident after the success of the first film. And I'm sure Andrew's ready for more because he loved the first one.
Give it to me. That's what I want.
And as I understand, Enrique has not seen the first film, but
No.
he's seen this trailer.
Yeah, and I need to find out where to stream this movie because this trailer kind of got me
Just
hyped.
buy the Blu-ray. Just buy the
That's
Blu-ray.
true. That's
Yeah.
true. I can just
Full
buy it.
price.
It was on.
$30.
It was
4K.
on. Well, no, like it was on sale, and I was like, I want to buy like the Sonic the Hedgehog Blu-ray. Like, I don't know. So
because then you'd have to own it. So
Yeah,
that'd be a
but-
bit of a bummer.
I will say this trailer kind of got me convinced, and I might either go rent it or buy it because it looked so ridiculous that it might be
It's so
just
ridiculous.
It might just be bad and ridiculous, but
It's very ridiculous.
But if there's any chance that it's ridiculous and kind of good, I'll take it. It's just like so out there that I'm like, okay, I can see it. Like you're not holding back anymore. Like fucking Eggman's got his mustache and like yeah, I'm like when I saw that I was like, okay, you got me. Fucking Jim Carrey.
Yeah, look, I agree. I was not a big fan of the first one. Andrew definitely enjoyed it far more than myself. But my big thing that I just really didn't like about the first one was that it was so afraid to like be a Sonic movie in certain ways. It was like tethered to this idea that everything takes place in this middle of nowhere town in Montana or wherever else, and you got Cyclops and his family, and it's just like these are all just like the most generic cardboard cutout characters that you could create. And Sonic's kind of like, like the thing that kind of, spices everything up. And Jim Carrey was absolutely just going for it in the first one too. So it does have that going for it. But, even the thing, like he had like a restrained mustache. Sonic obviously had the fuck design until they fixed it for the final movie. To me, it was just kind of like they didn't really know what they were doing. And I don't know if that was a case of, the people behind the movie not really like having a good sense of like what a Sonic movie should be, or if there was like a push and pull with like, well, you can't make it too weird because, we want this thing to be like super marketable. This one feels like they're kind of more happily embracing the video gamey elements again, like in a more successful way. So you're getting obviously the corrected Sonic design, which is much appreciated because it's I don't want the director's cut. I just don't. I mean, I would watch it again, but I don't need it. Let's put it that way. But Tails is coming in. They got the voice actor that just voices Tails from the game, and she's doing the voice for Tails. Fucking Knuckles is here. They got Idris Elba to do it. He did not do the voice in the video games, but it's fucking Idris Elba. So what are you gonna do? And they gave Jim Carrey the stash, and it just feels like it's bombastic and over the top. Fucking Chaos Emeralds there. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like it's
for the third one,
it's
you got to
still...
bring Chaos.
It's gonna be Shadow. It's gonna be Shadow for sure.
Yeah,
Shadow. Bring in Rouge. Bring in Amy.
Shit.
Like get video gaming and get fun with it. Like,
don't we get cheese?
the little
fucking...
like pets.
Chows.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, do it all. Bring it all in. Like, span worlds. Like, it doesn't have to be in small town Nowhereville, in America. Like, get weird with it, get fun with it, increase the scale, increase the scope. And like, I'm sure this thing's not going to cost $200 million or anything like that to make. But I think the first one was kind of restrained. Maybe it was a budget thing, maybe more than anything else. Maybe that was what it was. But this one feels like, it just feels more confident. I don't know if it's going to be good. Don't quote me as saying it's going to be good, but I think I'm going to enjoy this one a lot more personally, just because it feels like it's more in line with what I would like to see out of a silly Sonic live action movie, which is not something I would have asked for anyway. You know what I mean? And it's not for me, so I'm not going to be mad about it if I don't like it again. I know what I'm walking into. I accept it. It is what it is. So I have. Well, let me ask. I'm just rambling at this point. You guys have any other thoughts on this?
Are you looking forward to this, Andrew?
Yeah,
I feel like
very
the first
much.
one. I feel like you're about this.
The best aspects of the first movie were the when they lean into the gamey things. Okay, you know what I mean. They lean into the source material. With that being said, they are driving home the fucking source material in this one, at least what it looks, in part from the trailer, with a fucking sledgehammer. I mean, so I'm all about it. And as the movie, as the first movie went along, it I don't know, it built traction and I think it leaned more heavily into the source material of Sonic. And I don't know, I had a lot of fun with that movie. It's not, it's not the best movie of the year. Yeah, exactly. Not by a long shot. But I did not hate watching it. So I would recommend you watch it. You might enjoy it. I guarantee you'll laugh.
Especially after this.
You'll laugh.
Yeah.
I think if nothing else, it's short. And watch it right before this one comes out, and then you can roll right into this one, and maybe it it's better.
Sure.
Hopefully it's better.
Yeah.
My only one reservation, and I don't know if it's just a trailer thing or if it's just again, I'm not the target audience, so the humor is not really working for me, but none of the jokes are like funny in this to me. Like I enjoy Jim Carrey's ridiculous, gestures and the mustache and him being, over the top. Like I enjoy kind of the absurdist bits of it, but the actual like lines of like dialogue, the one-liners are just like I'm like they're either lame. At least that one actually kind of makes sense. The other ones I'm just like, is it even a joke? Is it a written joke? Is it Ben Schwartz just ad-libbing and not being good at it? Like, like what's happening here? Like like the Oprah thing. I'm just like, huh? What?
Oh,
like,
yeah. I don't know.
is that a joke? Am I missing the joke? Is the kid gonna get that joke? Are the kids watching
Kids
Oprah?
know
What are these jokes for?
Right. So I think that, and I think the first one had a lot of that. I think that's kind of like one of the things that like it was just like it didn't know what it wanted to be. This one feels like it's on the cusp of being close to like what it should be, at least in my eyes. But it's still got like weird like. It's not really that funny, but maybe it'll be better in the final film. Maybe it'll feel more natural, not as weirdly cut together. Or
he's
maybe
also an alien, dude. He's also
so.
not from this world, so his joke skills are obviously lacking.
He's working on him. He's working on him. That might be it. Maybe I'll cut the Blue Hedgehog some slack this time, but not next time. Fool me once, fool me twice. Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I will be very upset. All right. So that's Sonic, April 2022. And that brings us to our final trailer, our final piece of news to talk about. It's a big one. It's our first look at, I would say, the actual long-awaited sequel to another animated film. I guess technically Sonic the Hedgehog's not animated, but it fucking might as well be. The sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And
Part 1.
It's Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Yeah, that's some new information right there. So this is coming into theaters October of 2022, which means that this also is not very far away. It's less than a year away, which is pretty insane to think about. I had no idea it was that, coming out that soon. This first look is more of an extended sequence type thing. It's not like here's the plot of this movie, or I guess part 1 of this, set of movies. But it's still very much new stuff, new animation, showcasing new animation techniques that we didn't even see in the first one, which was already like groundbreaking in that particular aspect. So Into the Spider-Verse is maybe the best Spider-Man best Spider-Man movie of all time. Maybe we can revisit that conversation in 4 to 5 hours. But how'd you feel about Across the Spider-Verse Part 1 first look? Is it getting you hyped for what's to come?
Oh yeah, how can it not? And I was a little surprised by this. I didn't remember hearing that this trailer was coming, or like I had remembered back sometime when they announced the sequel coming in 2022, but I feel like they haven't been a lot of Spider-Verse, like animated Spider-Verse things. And in my mind, I figured they would do like a spin-off movie first, like a Spider-Gwen or something. Okay. So I was actually almost surprised to know that this was the next movie that was coming out. Very delighted, because I love the Into the Spider-Verse and that story. And I'm glad to see that it's picking up pretty much right afterwards. And obviously we get the teaser with Spider-Man 2099. And so I'm super looking forward to this. It's knowing that this comes out next year might be my most anticipated movie for next year, potentially.
I think I'm on the same page. I haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse since I saw it in theaters.
Oh.
And just seeing this animation return and Miles Morales back on the screen, it got me. It's especially after watching a Spider-Man movie. I don't know, it got me super excited. The animation looks spectacular. The style is, it's dripping with style. It's such a cool animation style. It definitely did a sufficient job of making me very excited. So definitely can't wait to cover this one.
Yeah. It's I think we're in for something special. It's, I think, basically the same crew that worked on Into the Spider-Verse coming back for this one. It's been a few years since that one came out. Although I don't know, it still feels fresh in my mind, like the time that it came out. Like it's I don't know. That film is just so good.
It's
is
so
just so good that
right?
it really does stick with you. But I'm excited to see the continuation of it, with everyone basically back on board. Obviously, kind of due to the nature of the Spider-Verse type things, we're going to get some more incarnations of Spider-Man. I think the big addition, who we technically saw, and I think the kind of jokey post-credits, was Oscar Isaac as Spider-Man 2099.
What?
He's clearly going to be a big
That's
part
your
of
boy.
this.
Your boy's
That's your boy, Andrew.
I didn't know that.
Oscar Isaac's playing 2099. Yeah, he was. They did the pointing meme, I think, and at the end, and the credits scene of Into the Spider-Verse. I feel like
he's credited
in like the old '60s animation technique.
He's credited as like interesting person or something like that. In the
okay.
credits,
He's not even credited as Miguel. Okay, but beyond that,
why is he beating
Haley
the shit out of
Steinfeld.
Spider-Man?
I don't know. He's
like,
real
"God
upset
damn it,
with him
Miles."
for whatever reason. Yeah, he's real pissed. Shamik Moore's back as Miles. Haley Steinfeld's back as Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen. Jake Johnson's going to be back as Peter B. Parker, the most relatable version of Spider-Man, really. And then we know, I think we talked about this a while back, Andrew and myself, Issa Rae is going to be in as Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew.
That's cool.
The creators have said that the Japanese Spider-Man from the 70s series, which I think we talked about on the bonus episode, is going to be involved in some way.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
And I think Silk is maybe going to be in it, but it doesn't seem like anyone's been cast to voice her.
I haven't seen that, but that'd be really cool.
So, but it's a part 1 and a part 2, so maybe you're not getting everyone up front. Maybe they kind of slowly shuffle them in, and who knows if they'll bring back like Penny Parker and Spider-Man Noir and all that. Hopefully, everyone gets a little bit of a part to play. I think that would be great. But I'm stoked. It's October, man. Like that's awesome to me that this is less than a year away. October is not like right on our doorstep or anything like that, but like that feels pretty close when this just kind of gets chucked into your lap. It feels good. Like, oh shit, I don't have to wait 2 years for this. So that's very, very exciting. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think Spider-Man fans are they're doing okay.
Doing all right.
Okay for themselves. Things could be far worse on that particular front, but I think they're going to be doing okay. And they can always enjoy Morbius to tide them over.
There you go.
Just a couple months. So, there's that. All right. I think that might conclude the news. Any other final thoughts, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse?
No. Can't wait for it. All
right. So let's dive in to the multiverse of Spider-Man No Way Home. It's in theaters only, exclusively in theaters. Written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, directed by John Watts, completing his Spider-Man trilogy of Homecoming, Far From Home, and now No Way Home. Stars Tom Holland, Zendaya, Benedict Cumberbatch, Jacob Batalon, Jon Favreau, Jamie Foxx. I misspoke. Johnny V, Jamie Foxx, Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, Tony Revolori, and Marissa Tomei. With Spider-Man's identity now revealed, courtesy of the greatest superhero of all time, Mysterio, Peter Parker asks Doctor Strange for help. But when a spell goes wrong, dangerous foes from other worlds start to appear, forcing Peter to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. So, I think we need a very, very a big box office breakdown to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. Can I get some horns?
Box office breakdown.
Well, Enrique, I think you made some bold predictions once upon a time.
I called some big numbers. I went back and I listened to the Shang-Chi episode, and I have not been proven right yet because I made a pretty big prediction, but I said this movie would do stupid numbers, and I even threw out like 1.5 billion. So we'll see, but
it's well on its way.
It's looking pretty good.
We'll it's well on its way. It's been all of 4 days that it's been out in the States, and it's well on its way. Yeah, Omicron's running wild throughout the world, but that did not stop people from putting their asses in seats. And I can speak from personal experience, having seen the movie twice. They were both fully booked. And I think there were plenty of fully booked theaters across the nation for Spider-Man No Way Home, which pulled in an astounding $260 million, $138,000 in its opening weekend. Good. For number 2 of all time, behind only Avengers Endgame. It has beaten the likes of Avengers Infinity War and Star Wars The Force Awakens. I remember when Star Wars The Force Awakens came out and set that opening weekend record, I'm like, nothing's ever topping this. Nothing. 3 movies have eclipsed it now. All MCU movies, mind you, 2 of which are Avengers movies. And this one...
One of which is post-pandemic. Or not post.
Right, or like literally...
amidst or, certainly very, very different release circumstances than anything prior to it. And I guess the pandemic's over. I guess that's as far as the box office is concerned, because all other movies are out of excuses. So West Side Story bombing, Tenet. I mean, Tenet's unfair to hold against it, because that actually was like really like amidst shit going down.
Beginning, yeah.
I think pre-vaccine rollout, obviously at that point too. We live in a vaccine booster kind of world where you can inoculate yourself against the
Omicron,
the chance of death.
Yes.
I think you can kind of protect yourself. If you apparently so choose to do so, and some have elected obviously not to do so. But hey, I guess we don't need to get into that here. It's not what we're here for. But whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, people turned out in droves for Spider-Man. What an incredible figure that it pulled in with its opening weekend. And during these times, it's just incredibly, incredibly impressive what it did. So internationally, it's about the same story. $341 million in its overseas first weekend, which gave it a global debut in its first weekend of $601 million, which is the third biggest worldwide bow of all time. I think that trails Endgame and Star Wars, if I'm not mistaken. I think those were the top 2 of all time, like worldwide. Or maybe it was Infinity War. I don't know. I'm sure the numbers are out there somewhere that I can reference. But
in the end.
The long story short, Disney don't care. Although, really, the big benefactor here is Sony.
That's true.
Because now they're finally getting in on the game. They just had to have another company make the movie for them, and look where they ended up. I think it had the third best Monday of all time, behind I think Black Panther and Star Wars. And it's sitting at $638 million worldwide through 4 days. So it's a third of the way. It's more than a third of the way to Enrique's bold prediction of $1.5 billion. And I can't even tell you what the last $1 billion movie that we've had is. So for it to even cross that threshold, I think would be quite significant overall. Because it's already the number. It's already I think the highest grossing film of the year for 2021.
It's not a surprise.
In one weekend, you know what I mean? It's already there. So I can't even imagine anything that's even come close to having $1 billion. F9 did $726 million, so it's basically right there. It's in the ballpark.
It's a lot of money.
Maybe Venom did okay. No, that didn't even get 500. So it's already beating Venom. I got nothing. I know it wasn't Black Widow or Eternals. So yeah, it's kind of in a class of its own right now. Is kind of the bottom line with it. So people wanted some fucking Spider-Man. I think that's the bottom line. People were raring to go. Clearly, I guess maybe waiting for like the big movie to come out. Maybe that's why some other movies haven't been super successful, as people haven't been as comfortable just going to see anything and everything that even slightly appeals to them. But when a new Spider-Man film rolls around, they say,
show up.
That's what I've been holding out for. That's what I want. And so fair enough. Perhaps they were rewarded for their trip to the theater. Let's get into it. Let's do some non-spoilers. We obviously will have a lot to talk about in spoilers, as I kind of talked about earlier. So I think we'll spend the majority of our time there, if I'm not if I can predict correctly. But we can say a few things in non-spoilers. So So who wants to kick it off? Who's got some non-spoilery thoughts to start our conversation on Spider-Man No Way Home?
Spider-Man's an incredible superhero. I like Spider-Man.
Hey, there's a reason we just did 3 hours of it
co-sign
on
that.
another episode, and then made our way here. So yeah, we love Spider-Man.
What about this Spider-Man?
That's the question. Do we love this Spider-Man?
I love. Well, that's.
Do you like the Spider-Man movie?
Yes, I think that this Spider-Man is really compelling. This is a very compelling Spider-Man movie. The Tom Holland version of Spider-Man, I feel like, I mean, he's definitely had uphill battles, but not the kind of battles that he faces in this movie.
Yeah.
And in the way that they, I have some questions for spoilers. I want to run by you guys.
Sure.
Remind me about those questions. But it was really awesome to see the culmination of just the way that this story was told. I think it was done with a lot of class. I think it was done with it was expertly woven, right? I mean, I think it's just a really, really, really cool story. I think it really does a good job of putting the rogue gallery in front and center. Every villain has the spotlight at some point. I think that the emotional beats of this movie they thumped very hard. I mean it was an emotional roller coaster for me. I think I cried a couple times in this movie, but I went and saw it with Sarah's dad, and Sarah's sister. Sarah looked over at me a couple times and just kind of shook her head because I was crying, sobbing on myself. It was really good. The theater we went and saw it at the Old Cobb right there in Wesley Chapel.
Yeah.
I did not pre-order my tickets like I was told numerous times to do. So when it
Did they do reserved seats, or were you able to?
They actually did.
Okay.
So I could have bought tickets for the old movie co. I couldn't buy IMAX. I couldn't buy Dolby.
Sure.
I couldn't buy anything that had reserved seating. And I didn't even think to look at the Cobb because I really don't like the theater. I think I just don't care for it.
Once upon a time, it was cool and all, but it's
Yeah, and the mixing on the audio was not my favorite. It was real tinny and stuff, and but it was really apparent in the trailers, like in the Sonic trailer. Tails was just like blistering my eardrums. 'Cause it was like so high pitched. It seemed like.
Oh, I was gonna say if it was a low bassy groove, you would have been fine.
Yeah, no, it was really high. It was really high pitched. But that's neither here nor there.
Sure.
But anyways, I got 4 seats altogether for a 1:00 matinee, and it worked out really well because it's really close.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Good.
It was definitely a roller coaster of a movie. It doesn't stop. You get Doctor Strange doing Doctor Strange things and in such an awesome scale, which I'm waiting to see Doctor Strange in his element, and I think you get a taste of that.
Get a glimpse of it, yeah.
I think it's all around really awesome. Soundtrack's really cool. Cinematography is awesome. Just the way that they capture Spider-Man, and to be clear, I didn't revisit Homecoming or Far From Home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't revisit those, so I went straight off of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and reviewing the older stuff for a bonus episode. Straight into this, and it's like, God damn, Spider-Man looks really good swinging around. That's that's really incredible. Is that a real man swinging around up there? It it was shocking. It blew me away. CG looks excellent. I appreciated some of the things that they've changed for some characters, and it's really just a really cool movie. Had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, Enrique, what'd you think?
No, it's a movie, and what a movie. So I've seen this twice now. I caught it the first time on Saturday, but beforehand, I might have mentioned this on the Spider-Man bonus episode, but I bought tickets for Friday morning, Friday night, and then Saturday night. And I ended up going to the Saturday night one because of the schedule changes and stuff. So I could have seen it a couple more times, but then I saw it today in IMAX. So that was a great experience. But my first showing was packed. It was like, minus myself and a few other people wearing masks. Like, you couldn't tell that this was like still during a pandemic. Like, it had the energy that you get from these type of like big blockbuster tentpole movies, and that's a lot of fun. Like, I really miss that, like, opening day weekend. Just like everybody's there, everybody's getting the same reactions as you. Like, someone pops up in the screen, you get a gasp. Someone like has a tragic fate. People cry. Like, it's just. I do like that, especially when people are invested. Like, it sucks when someone's just like on their phone or like talking, and it's like they're just making noise to make noise. But like when people are making noise that are like invested in the movie, it just feels like an event. And maybe that's the only thing that's gonna make it in movie theaters now, because nothing else is making big numbers. But being a Spider-Man fan, I really enjoyed this, and I think this movie had a huge task, almost in the way that Andrew kind of alluded to this maybe, but like how Endgame had a huge task to do. Like, it's just, the expectations were so high that it's almost Zendaya, MJ has a line in this where like, expect disappointment and you'll never be disappointed. And you could almost go into this movie with the same attitude. Like, don't bring in all your hopes and aspirations, and maybe if it's not as good as you want, you won't be disappointed. But I stopped watching trailers. I kind of just wanted to be surprised by everything, and the surprises hit, the emotions were felt. The story of it, I think is really compelling. And I think the one thing that maybe at times not necessarily like threw me off, but like maybe kind of make me do a second take, was actually maybe like how they filmed it. The cinematography, I feel like just like certain scenes are almost like not so much with when he was Peter, but when he was like in some of the action scenes, I thought were like done just a little bit differently. I can't like quite put my finger on it, but it definitely better than the web movies in the action department. But almost at times I felt like there was more fluidity in the Sam Raimi shots, and I can't pinpoint any specific scenes for it. But I think the overall plot, when you dissect it, probably has some holes in it, but it's not something that detracts from my enjoyment. Like, I'm willing to ignore a few things here and there, and just in terms of like cinematic experience, like this is fucking fantastic cinematic experience. Like, probably top 5 movie going experiences, just for the spectacle, the crowd, like the things you saw on the screen. Possibly in like my top 5 cinematic experiences, so high bar.
I know. I tell you my bar, like the way, like the metric that I use to know that, like, okay, it's not just me, everybody's on board. Besides Sarah, if Sarah likes it and I like it, then we're
it's pretty good.
We're
pretty
traversing, good. Yeah, we're breaking through different barriers. But there's this 8-year-old boy who sat next to Sarah, okay, and he's watching. It's a pretty decent length movie, right?
Yeah.
But he's literally on the edge of his seat, and he's doing. Anytime shit kicks off, he starts doing these TikTok dances. Like he just can't sit still, and I just ate it up. It was really. that boy will remember this movie for the rest of his days.
Yeah.
He's going to remember going to see Spider-Man with his dad and his brother, because it was his dad and his brother who went to go see it. Or his whoever, some older adult and some other child. I don't presume to say, but and when he left the fucking movie theater, you know who was waiting outside? There's Spider-Man outside.
Oh,
Spider-Man was
shit.
in the lobby of the movie theater. He's like, "Hey, did you come see my movie?"
Oh.
And he's like, "Yeah, it was so awesome." And he was, man, it made my heart explode.
That's amazing.
I mean, and like you said before, it's that experience of going and sharing a movie with a crowd.
People who like want to be there, want to see it. Yeah,
they're invested. They're all about it. The adults are into it. I mean, because this was the first. I mean, for me, it was the first, I think, superhero movie that I saw in theaters. I saw it with my parents. You know what I mean? And you can see it kind of transcend generations. And you can see yourself and the kids going to watch the movies, and the parents, and everybody's just all in. Everybody's real excited, and sharing that experience with other people is it's really spectacular. It's really, like you say, it was. It's on a whole nother level, So that was a continuation of my idea. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
You
So
inspired me.
we're on board. Are you on board, Colton?
Yeah, I'm on board. I mean, come on. I have a lot of thoughts on this. Plot heavy thoughts, obviously too. But I think just, even responding to, I think some of the things you guys have talked about. People are coming into this movie with expectations.
Oh yeah.
Whether they're lowered expectations because they're skipping out on marketing material, or they're coming in knowing what's to come because a lot of the leaks have come through and they know what's going to happen to some extent. They don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but and then there's the 8-year-old who just fucking loves Spider-Man, and there's the parent who's like, yeah, I watched the fucking Sam Raimi movies and they were like cool or whatever, man. Like it's got a lot kind of baked into it that's going to have this sort of mass appeal in a way that an Avengers type movie does, which is probably why you predicted it would do gangbusters, because it had the potential to capitalize on basically every market being interested. And capitalize it does. I mean, it kind of succeeds on, telling a satisfying story for Peter Parker / Spider-Man. It succeeds on having compelling villains returning from some of the older films that we talked about on the last episode. And all in all, it just feels like a nice, it's a propulsive, kinetic movie that even if you're not 8 years old and you're not literally there, you're at least figuratively on the edge of your seat for a good chunk of this movie, because this movie just has so much packed into it. In a good way, in a satisfying way, beyond just Easter eggs and little things that are going to appease comic book fans. It's just a satisfying narrative at its core, of what it's like to be Peter Parker, what it's like to be Spider-Man, and what it's like to be both when the barrier you have erected between those two gets shattered, as Mysterio unveils his identity at the end of Far From Home. Like it really hits the ground running of reacting to how that happens and what goes on from there. So it's got spectacle, in a way that I think maybe exceeds any of the other Spider-Man movies that we've seen. Like maybe not Into the Spider-Verse, because that's just like kind of a spectacle of its own category. But in terms of the live action films and the 5 that we talked about, plus Homecoming and Far From Home, like this is a far grander scale. You've got fucking Doctor Strange coming in and doing Doctor Strange-y shit, as we talked about. And, he's a goddamn wizard, he's got some shit going on. But it's just handled in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels satisfying. So for those people that are coming in with all these expectations, wherever they're coming from, it's just delivered on all those things. I mean, the box office numbers obviously speak for themselves. Right. I think it got an A+ cinema score. Yeah. It's like chilling at like 9 out of 10 on IMDb. Like it's very rare to find someone that is not satisfied by this film in some way. Like, it really seemingly has something for everyone, which is a rare feat. And I know, I think that it places it in that Avengers, Star Wars, The Force Awakens type tier. And even those films obviously have their detractors too. And with time, the backlash will surely start against this film for this and that and blah, 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 but for now, it just feels like the unifying force in this world right now is this movie, because it sure as shit ain't, vaccinating yourself or, politics or anything of the sort. Spider-Man's the thing that can fucking bring people together for at least a weekend.
If you can get 90-something% of people to agree on something, that's impressive, right? Like, when was the last time like 90% of everybody agreed on something?
Correct. So yeah, it's Spider-Man that bridges the gaps between everyone, apparently. But I've seen it twice. The first time I saw it opening day. I had a great crowd for it. My experience was slightly marred by the fact that I did not apparently time my water consumption all that well. So my bladder was uncooperative and was very upset with me for the last hour of the film.
Did you pull a Topher Grace?
I held it. I don't know if that's what I held it, and I just made it work. But I did find myself wondering, like, are we over? Is it over? And so I ran out after the mid credits. I think I ran out and came back for the post credits. But I saw it again the second time. I saw it in Dolby both times. And the second time, I very deliberately left myself a little parched and not worried about that sort of thing. And I gave myself over to it. I knew what to expect, obviously, having seen it. But I really kind of wanted to just be immersed in it. And it was another sold-out crowd. And, like every time, like, there's like a big reveal or there's some big set piece or something happens, the audience is clapping or they're like, wooing or, like just they're just so responsive. It's just such a fun experience. But, and we haven't had that, to echo that sentiment, like we just haven't had that really probably since Endgame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed the shit out of watching Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and Eternals, and I watched all of those opening weekend, but, like, none of them had the same sort of, raucous, response that something like this had. It was just a delight to kind of be able to take part of that experience, But I think that having seen it twice and getting over my bladder woes, I think that the second viewing really allowed me to appreciate this film in a way that, had I not seen it that second time, I don't think I would have been able to appreciate it on the same level. It's just a really, really well written film. I think that delivers on the characterization of really all the kind of principal characters that it has in it. It leaves it on a very exciting and interesting note. For the character and kind of, where does the universe move forward from this point? But most importantly, it's just satisfying. It's just a satisfying movie. Odds are, if you're listening to this, you've seen it. Maybe not, but it's something that is really kind of this unifying force, and it's really kind of cool to see. So I hope it does, leg its way to $1.5 billion. I would say the road is wide open. We've got Matrix around the corner, but there's not a whole lot coming out. The trailer, right, that'll hold it back, and it's on HBO Max as well.
Yeah.
So two factors against it right there. The trailer reel for this movie was fucking horrendous, in my opinion. I did have the Batman trailer, which was great, but it was basically all downhill from that. Basically, all of the Sony movies that are being advertised, looking at you, Uncharted and Morbius, this movie could take hold of the box office for the next month potentially. Like, I don't know what dethrones it. It'll obviously happen eventually, but it's got a clear landscape ahead of it, and so we'll see how it actually kind of pans out in the long run in terms of its overall box office tally. So,
did you have a lot of
spoilery? Go ahead.
Did you have the Abby, the period piece show or movie?
Downton Abbey. I did not.
Oh no, I
did
didn't
not have that.
Yeah, so we got Morbius and then Downton Abbey. It's like, what the fuck's happening?
No, I think I got the Batman. I actually do think I got the Sonic trailer.
I got Sonic both times.
I think
I got an anime trailer. It was
I don't think I got an anime trailer.
It was the Mirai, like, not sequel, but like the same studio or director that made Mirai. It was someone's name. I had never seen that trailer even.
Is that the one where something comes out of the cat's butt?
No. I
saw a trailer. Maybe it was the last movie I saw in theaters.
No, I can't even remember. But it's all about like a girl and some song and band. Yeah,
I didn't get that.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. It seemed a little out of place, but I seemed up my alley. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe the Kingsman. I think we got maybe that for the 9,000th time that I've seen it in theaters. You know?
I got that the first time.
Yeah,
I got that Jake Gyllenhaal. Michael Bay,
did get the Michael Bay one.
Yeah,
Ambulance. I got that one. Yeah, that looks.
I was like,
what
sounds
the fuck is
fucking
this?
fantastic. I didn't see that.
I'll let Andrew do a monologue on that one and report back, just like he reported back on Resident Evil.
I haven't done that yet either.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Go see my boy Michael Bay.
Yeah, but it was real bad. But it's okay because you just suffer through it, and then the movie happens, and all is well and all is redeemed. But
yeah, Bell was the movie.
Okay.
It's called Bell.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. What else do I have to say? Music is good.
Mm-hmm.
I think the performances in here are fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's a strength of this film. Tom Holland he's an excellent Peter Parker. He's an excellent Spider-Man. I think he captures both, sides to the persona, even though they're kind of blended very much so due to the nature of this plot. I think he's fantastic. He sinks right back into this role. Zendaya is a fun. MJ, Benedict Cumberbatch is, he's Doctor Strange, man. Like he is just Doctor Strange at this point, and he's awesome, and he has a nice kind of chemistry with Peter after their Avengers experiences together.
Can we talk about J.K. Simmons and
J.K. Simmons,
fucking Alex Jones?
J.K. Simmons has just gone full Alex Jones in this. It's a little bit of a different spin on JJJ. Very clearly, just a stand-in for Alex Jones.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but he does it well. JK. Look,
he's so good.
Bring me a bad J.K.
So
Simmons performance. Bring me a bad one. I'm waiting.
We're going to
something out there, but I haven't
talking about this Spider-Man menace, and we're going to talk about this protein.
You want this
male vitality.
Don't put it in the water; it'll turn the frogs gay.
I lost my shit when he advertised male vitality.
No, I was like, this J. Jonah Jameson is totally like, he's probably vaccinated, but probably spewing a bunch of anti-vax shit. Just like, if you drink bleach, that will cure your systems.
Clean it right out. Yes.
Good Lord.
He's so good. He's really good.
But Marissa Tomei is also a standout in this film. She's great. She's been a fun Aunt May. Different Aunt May than we obviously saw in either the Raimi or Webb films, and maybe the best one. But I think the villains in this are standouts. I harped on Willem Dafoe in our bonus episode, and then I'll harp on him again, maybe more so in spoilers. But he's fantastic here as the Green Goblin. Alfred Molina's back. He's another one that kind of just sinks right back into it. however many years later, and Jamie Foxx I think is probably back. He's back. He's better. He's better.
Much better.
They try to do a little something with his character to improve it, to redeem it, perhaps. And I think it was pretty successful on the whole. So I think that it's got this pretty good sized ensemble cast with tons of villains kind of being thrown at it, and you get kind of the Doctor Strange filling that Iron Man, Nick Fury type big MCU secondary character role like we'd seen in this trilogy, and I think it really works and makes for a film filled with magic and spectacle, and altogether it's just kind of magical and a spectacle to behold, I guess. So I was very happy with Spider-Man No Way Home. Much more so after my second viewing, though, admittedly.
Okay.
So we can do recommendations now if no one else has any other non-spoiler thoughts.
Sure. No, let's go for it.
All right. So recommendation. We have very yes, totally fine, and shithouse. I know we've been kind of all across the board in terms of ranking the MCU films. Given how much I've said about it, it's probably no surprise where I'll stand on this one. But nonetheless, will we have a consensus on Spider-Man No Way Home? We'll find out. What did you guys think, recommendation-wise? How do you feel about Spider-Man No Way Home?
So I might have been the harshest on the last two films, only because I enjoyed them, but they didn't hit it quite for me. And I guess by last two, I don't mean Shang-Chi, I mean Black Widow and Eternals. But I think this, for me, with all the hype, with everything, it's still delivered. So this is a very special movie, and this is an easy very yes for me. I think if you're the biggest Spider-Man fan, you'll still leave happy. You won't be like, well, this was slightly different from the comics. Like, no, everything is slightly different from the comics, but I think this does a great job honoring the source material and honoring the previous works that came before it, and being different enough where it's not a rehash of everything we've seen before. So this to me is a very yes. Obviously it's only in theaters, so go watch it in theaters, do so safely, and have that experience, because it's a great experience to have.
I will echo your words. One thing that I think is awesome about this iteration of Spider-Man, I mean, just the Tom Holland representation of Spider-Man is they never crossed over the same story beats as the Spider-Mans before, right? Like,
that's true.
Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was
the same,
an origin
first
story,
movie, yeah.
Yeah, and then Tobey Maguire's obviously an origin story. It's the same stuff. It's just it's a regurgitation of the same material. We have never crossed the same paths with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and I think it's made for so much more of a rich experience. And they weren't. And I'm getting off into the weeds a little bit, but they weren't confined to try to put Spider-Man and Peter Parker in the same box, or felt like they had to tell a particular story. And as a result, we have 3 Spider-Man movies now that has a very rich and organic, the characters are so much more organically fleshed out, I think. You know what I mean? They feel much more realized. And it feels a lot more authentic. And I think that the sort of the material that they kind of go over in this particular movie, or the things that they want to try to, the story beats that they want to hit, it makes those moments so much more impactful, having such a history with this particular Spider-Man. And we've got 2 movies in, and we've got Spider-Man going through a whole lot of stuff. I mean, he went through the death of Tony Stark, which was his mentor, in some ways, and but this just opens it up at a whole nother level, and everything hits so much harder in this movie. Everything, and we'll get into it in spoilers, but it's a ridiculously awesome theater experience to share with other people. As a fan, it's super rewarding as a fan of the movies. I haven't read a lot of Spider-Man comics, but I did watch animated stuff when I was younger. I've watched all the live action stuff since. And just as a fan and what Spider-Man represents, and just the values that he holds, true to himself and everything else, it's just, I don't know, it's a super rewarding movie to watch. Incredibly well made with a lot of love and care, and it niches itself right in to the MCU and everything that's going on perfectly. I think it feels right at home where it's at and when it's come out and everything else. And it opens the door to so much more, right? So it's the third movie in a trilogy, and I think it feels right at home, and I think it fucking nails it. I mean, it's just, that it's awesome. So yes, very yes movie for me.
Yeah. I guess I'll go ahead and co-sign. Just get that out of the way. I think it's a consensus very yes movie. Adding my vote into it, I think we all went very yes, right? I think that's what we said. All right, it's a consensus very yes movie. I think, Andrew, you actually make a really great point, and something that stood out to me because I rewatched Homecoming and I had rewatched like Far From Home on TV like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So it was recent enough that I'm like, I didn't have time anyway, but I didn't need to rewatch it like right before I saw this one. I think out of necessity, these movies have kind of gone out of their way to not repeat the same plot beats that we saw in the Raimi films and that we saw in the Webb films. And I think a lot of that is just because they don't want to tread on the same territory, but it's kind of forced them to be creative and unique and do something different. So like, oh no, there's no Harry Osborn in this universe that we've met yet anyway, and oh no, we haven't met an Uncle Ben, you know what I mean? And oh no, and I guess we'll have to use new villains, and maybe that's not true for this one because they're just using old villains.
True.
But they still are like, let's look at this and do this in a different way. So, it's even though this movie, I think, much more so than Homecoming and Far From Home, relies on some nostalgia and some fan servicey type things and taking these old characters and kind of bringing them back, it still tries to do something new with them and something novel with them so that it's not just the same thing, and by the very concept of kind of doing this whole multiverse thing of, we don't have to do the same movie and over and over and over again, like we can pay homage to these things and still keep it fresh and still keep it exciting for people that have seen that before and make it exciting. It just kind of delivers on all that, and this one, even though it again does use some of those old kind of plot elements through these villains, it's still in service of our Peter. It's still in service of Tom Holland's Peter Parker / Spider-Man, and and shaping him into the hero that he's kind of meant to be as Spider-Man. He gets put through the ringer, don't get me wrong, but like that's just kind of that's like the formational aspect of Spider-Man is that it's a tough gig. It's not sunshines and rainbows all the time. It's tough. It can be taxing. It can have an impact on your personal life. And we saw that to some extent in those old Spider-Man films. But here it's kind of taken into a new different direction. And I just think that the way that who I think really deserves a lot of credit, John Watts. John Watts has done, I think, just such an incredible job of navigating really, really different tones throughout this entire trilogy, from the John Hughesian Homecoming to a little bit more serious Far From Home, and and dealing with like the death of Tony Stark and that movie, to now dealing with throwing magic in there and returning villains and shit. Like, it's just kind of the kitchen sink in some sort of ways, but and in a way that could have worked really, really badly. I think that's maybe an important point to harp on, is this could have been a fucking disaster.
This could have been a Spider-Man 3.
But it's not. This could have been a Spider-Man 3. It could have been overstuffed. It could have had too many fucking things going on, but it balances it all. It juggles it all super, super effectively in a very, very impressive way. So if nothing else, I'm excited to see him deal with a certain fantastic group of characters in the future for Marvel, because this to me has been a showcase that this dude's fucking talented. He knows how to deal with multiple storylines and crazy out there kind of shit happening, and and it all coming together in a satisfying manner. So it's a very yes film all around. So and it's a very impressive film, I think, all around, that it manages to kind of really soar in the way that it does. So I think we need to stop dancing around it.
No,
I think it's time.
Time to get into it
for some full spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home.
All right.
Well, gentlemen, we find ourselves in spoiler territory. We no longer have to navigate the minefield. Don't mind if I just go ahead and take my sweater off and expose my
What's going
Nelson and Murdoch shirt that I'm wearing underneath, because Charlie Cox is in the
Why
MCU,
would you be doing that?
motherfuckers.
Was that not the most incredible thing?
Fucking memory.
Did you lose your shit when you saw that?
I got really hyped because like all the things about it online, obviously like things had leaked and whatnot, but
That's your forearm.
but I was like, no, like I was like, okay, yeah, like I totally think that Toby and Andrew Garfield are in this movie, but like Charlie Cox in this movie, like stop with the fan theories and stuff. And then he shows up, and I was like, oh shit, fucking Matt Murdock is in this film.
Is that brick? I'm
God,
just a good theory.
that's when I knew. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good time.
Man,
I feel like it's one of those things that like we as fans were just like, Spider-Man's lawyer should just be Daredevil.
Just do it.
It just makes too much sense. Yeah. And I don't know if it was a natural thing of just them thinking of it independently and like, yeah, we were always going to do that all along, or if it's just like looking at that and being like, yeah, that's fucking cool. Let's do that. Like, let's call up Charlie and see if he's available for a day and bring him in. But it's exciting nonetheless, and it's just it's the first of many moments in this film. Maybe not even the first in this film particularly, but it's the first one that stands out to me right now of just being like, oh man,
you did it.
They had to make a decision with like every little thing in here, and they made the right decision every single time. You know what I mean? And so you just kind of hear the stick kind of thud, kind of sweeps around, and there he is. And the dialogue is perfect. He's a good lawyer. He's a really good lawyer, as it turns out. But just the subtle, it's in your face without being in your face of just being like, this is fucking Daredevil. He's still Daredevil. We don't know if the Netflix shit is canon.
It made me want to go back and watch it, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about another Daredevil thing that I watched a little bit later, and it wasn't the Netflix series.
So I need to get something off my chest before I forget. I thought it was such a touching thing for Spider-Man to learn the lessons that Spider-Man learned beforehand, like in the previous Spider-Man movies that came out before. Because he's kind of learned
like generally about responsibility or what in particular.
You know what I mean? Just all the lessons, like the brutality and the story beats that were in previous Spider-Man movies were present in this movie, just all crammed into like one like small form factor. You know what I mean? In one movie, they covered so much ground and so much character development over the span of like the third act of the movie, and it was just spectacular to watch. Man. The fact that nobody remembers Peter Parker anymore, that shit just
I'm not even ready for that.
That was
save it for later.
Can we go through the happier, joyous moments of this film before we?
Oh, you mean when he lost Aunt May?
That?
Oh, Jesus!
Oh my God! Oh, he lost Aunt May. That shit.
All right, we can talk about it.
Reel it back. Well, there's lots of things to get into here, but. Are we off Daredevil already? This is a 20-minute conversation right here, just talking about Daredevil. In my opinion, Anna was telling me it's a very good legal representation, unlike the 2003 Daredevil film. Again, as I'll talk about in a little bit. He's a really good lawyer. He catches bricks.
Yeah, I say you need to be able to catch bricks.
That's what she was pointing out.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, you should probably find a lawyer.
Yeah.
It's not me, but you should find someone to help you out with this.
One day you will also be able to catch bricks without looking.
I'm working on it. I'm waiting for the radioactive waste to enter my eyeballs. It hasn't happened yet. But honestly, I live in Philadelphia. It's probably going to happen.
If you go
at some
swimming
point.
in a Schuylkill, you'll hit something.
Yep. That's a likely story. But I just wanted to say the Matt Murdock cameo was pitch perfect.
Yeah.
To be honest,
awesome.
And I hope that we see a lot more of Charlie Cox in the MCU moving forward. That said, that was but 1 minute of this 2.5-hour film, and obviously there's a lot that we've already alluded to already. So do we want to go to Aunt May next? Is that where we're going?
We can talk about. I would like to. We could talk about the Goblin.
Talking about the Goblin.
All right, where do so many
how
places?
long are we gonna
so many
How long are
places
we
to
gonna
go.
dance around the other two big names? We'll keep it going.
Okay.
We can keep it going along. In case anyone just accidentally drops in spoilers, they haven't been totally spoiled on the movie. Like, all right, Daredevil cameo, no big deal. Aunt May dies, no big deal.
Yeah.
Green Goblin's in the movie. We already knew that from the trailer.
No.
But
what
what a
do
real
you
good
got-
job, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Willem Dafoe?
you clearly
Yes.
you clearly had watched this movie when we recorded the Spider-Man bonus episode. You're like, William Dafoe, greatest Green Goblin or greatest like performance. I'm like,
He's
he's pretty-
definitely
he's
the
pretty
greatest
damn
Green
good.
Goblin we've had in live action in general.
That's true.
And that would have
Ripped
been
the
true
mask
before
off,
this movie.
Shattered the mask.
that's true. But after seeing this, I was like, that was a fucking
It solidifies it,
classic
for sure.
Like, just this was like, he obviously won't get the same recognition with everything, but like, and it's slightly smaller role in a sense, but like this is like as iconic, I think, in my mind, as like Heath Ledger's Joker. Like, this is like the definitive Green Goblin. Like, and like, I think this was frankly a smart move to bring back these actors, because who else are you going to get to play Green Goblin? Who else are you going to get to play Doc Ock? No, J. Jonah Jameson. Like, no one as good as, frankly, Sam Raimi and Sony got the first time. So just bring back the same people.
Yeah, I think it's totally true. Like, you know, the Amazing Spider-Man films, I guess, repeated not too many villains, but like when they did Harry and they did Goblin, it was
different
awful.
Norman Osborn. Oh no,
different Norman. Like, none of it was. It was just like, God, this just doesn't have the same feel to it, you know. And I think that it is kind of a wise sidestep for this, of just being like, yeah, we can do Norman Osborn again. We could do Harry Osborn again. We can do a Green Goblin again. But I think that because they made Green Goblin such an integral point in this film, especially in terms of how he affects Peter moving forward, you kind of don't really need to do it anymore. Like, it kind of covers that territory without having to do all the setup. Like, the setups, you know, the heavy lift has kind of been done for you. I mean, you don't really need to have seen like the Raimi film. Like, it's helpful. I think it's helpful to have seen all the old films, and I'm glad that we rewatched all of them.
Right.
Obviously, even just for the villains alone, I think it's helpful to kind of get an idea of where they're coming from when they get, you know, sucked into this world, you know, the MCU version of the world. But yeah, I mean, Green Goblin, like, you know, we get the Power Rangers costume for all of like 10 seconds, which is fine. The mask gets shattered, you know,
Elf.
and then
Elf
the Green
flying
Elf.
around.
Yeah. I think basically you know, there's the whole scene in Happy's apartment building where the hoodie that Goblin is wearing over his suit, like the whole thing gets like torn to shit, and it turns into this tattered remains.
that fight scene was
so
brutal.
That was
like,
fucking brutal.
just hands-on brutal.
All of the action sequences were very brutal. Even the bridge scene with Doc Ock, where he's just kind of ragdolling him around, it's like pretty. It's pretty brutal. Like, you know, just in terms of the kind of, you know, physical punishment that Peter takes throughout this film, and he gets his ass kicked a few times. Don't get me wrong. Like, Doc Ock clearly wins that first battle.
Oh yeah. Until
Until he kind of gets outsmarted. But in that apartment scene is just, you know, visceral, and I'd say Peter loses that one, obviously, by the way that ends. But I was just gonna say, building to kind of that final confrontation with Peter and Goblin. Goblin rolls in. The goggles don't do anything for me, but you have the hood and kind of the tattered hoodie with like the battle damaged Goblin suit. It's one of the best. It's definitely the best Goblin look that we've ever seen.
For sure. Definitely.
And the reason maybe it works as well as it does is because Willem Dafoe, as we all know, just has a goblin face. so he's just perfect for it. You know, the secret to Willem Dafoe being the best Green Goblin there could be is don't cover his face.
Yeah.
Let him smile as he's getting his fucking face punched in.
Jesus Christ, that was,
you know, just like a crazy asshole. Just you know, pitch perfect, like oscillating between don't tell Harry, you know, to just, you know, the goblin laugh. I won't even do it. That was pretty good, though.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good. That's pretty good goblin
I
laugh.
think this movie did a really smart thing of, we know who these people are, so most people don't wear a mask, like, for a greater portion of this film. Like, most villains don't have a mask, and most heroes don't have a mask, so you just see people, and like, one, you know who they are, but two, like you see the emotions on their face, whether it's Green Goblin being fucking psychopath or Peter Parker like just dealing with all of it. I thought that was a pretty smart move, actually, of just like you see people. I think Tom Holland actually commented, he's like, whenever I wear the Spider-Man suit, like I like overreact, like I overact with my arms because I don't have my face to like act. So you like give him that ability, and he's wonderful, as you mentioned. Like the acting in this movie is some of the best in any Spider-Man, possibly most superhero films.
Yeah.
Sandman also looks a whole lot better.
I was going to ask you, Andrew, to follow up on that.
The CG got better.
We should hope that the CG would improve.
I also like the fact that he can't make himself look like a normal like he just doesn't look like a normal person.
That's so I think that it's the same thing with the lizard too, right? They don't turn into their human selves until they're kind of cured at the end.
Right.
But I think that was just we're not going to bring these guys in for more than just recording for an hour in the voice booth. I think is really what it turned. I think that's the biggest reason for that happening. Because it's like Thomas Hayden Church and Rhys Evans both actually technically came back reprising their roles.
Yeah, I was surprised at that actually.
They're not credited in like the main credit sequence. I think it was really a very small come in for a very short amount of time, or maybe it was a COVID restriction even potentially, where it's just like, yeah, whatever. So anyway, you're just a sand guy and you're just a lizard. Going to be the whole movie.
But the lizard looked way better. Right, he had a little bit of a snout to it's not a crocodile.
It's not. He had better teeth.
I think the design was still bad because it's just. I mean,
you couldn't.
It's interesting
unless you completely redo it. It's gonna look bad, I guess.
And I was gonna say, like, I mean, most of these are untouched. At least within the course of the movie, they may change it, and so they we talked about Goblin's evolution. Starts as Power Rangers 2, kind of what we saw in that final fight. Doc Ock's was mostly pretty good to start with. They didn't really have to touch that too much. Sandman's he's just a sand man. It's just what it is. The lizard's the lizard. Better CG. Electro is really the only one where they're just like,
he got a real glow.
Yeah, we're changing everything here.
They addressed it too,
They did. He starts as Blue. He's Dr. Manhattan for a minute. We got the dubstep first.
A little bit. I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, they're gonna do this.
Right, don't do this every time. It was fun because they did it once. If they had done it more than once, I think it would have bothered me. But it was, I think, a good reimagining of Electro. He's just Jamie Foxx now, and honestly, fine.
I'm okay with that.
The electricity fixed his teeth. It's now fixed his hairline. He's looking good. And they acknowledged that, he started Blue, and they're just like, hey man, last time you saw you, weren't you like, didn't you have a gap tooth and comb over and shit? Like, fucking nerd, what happened to you? So they kind of acknowledged it and rolled with it, and it was fun. And he had the bolt lightning mask face with the actual electricity generator.
That was pretty cool.
It's a good way of.
I like that little nod. Yeah.
The comic, the classic comic book Electro costume. So that was cool.
They address Peter Parker's web shooters.
The web. I was leaning into it a little bit. I wanted to hear some thoughts about the web shooters from you guys because I knew that there was going to be a little bit addressed in this film, but I think that probably really feeds into the next thing, which is maybe some returning Spider-Man in this movie. Shit. We really haven't talked about that.
Yes.
Like I figured this was happening, and I think if it didn't happen, I would have been disappointed. But they did it, and I thought they did it really well too. Like. Maybe, I don't know. There's obviously a big moment that comes before this. We kind of talked about Aunt May's death. So I don't know if it's worth touching upon that.
Let's deal with that moment.
Because that was heavy.
And then we'll enjoy Toby and Andrew being back.
That was heavy. And I think, you could say, like, did you really have to kill off Aunt May? And I think that's a reasonable question to ask. I think the way they did do it was well done. We obviously didn't see this Peter Parker lose his Uncle Ben, so this is almost a replacement of that. Obviously this is his third movie, and he's already become Spider-Man. But like, maybe this is like his true becoming of Spider-Man. Like, He's not like Iron Man's sidekick. He's not Doctor Strange's sidekick. He's like, he's an independent. He is like the Spider-Man. And see, like, obviously Green Goblin came in here, fucking do some more killing. And that scene was rough. Like,
Yeah.
As soon as you saw the glider come in.
yeah.
And she also gets ragdolled by it. And I was just like,
oh man, that
oh
was
shit!
that was-
Like I thought that was it for her.
Yeah, no, I thought
like
so
when
too.
she got hit by that, and then she starts standing up and like
Right.
talking. I was just like, oh, I guess it wasn't as bad as it looked.
Yeah, but it was enough.
Oh,
to,
I guess it was.
enough to
But,
give you that iconic speech, and that speech hit me. Like I
And
think,
they finally got the line
Yeah.
true to the comics.
I was gonna say, like, kind of what we were talking about in the last episode. Like, this is exactly how they say it in the comics. Obviously, it's Uncle Ben, but this Aunt May is this version's Uncle Ben, or whatever you want to call it.
I think it feeds into what Andrew was getting at, of like, and I guess what I was adding to, like, you're doing a different thing here.
Yeah, just
we didn't need to see
sense.
Uncle Ben die for a third time. Like, we get it, but we never seen Aunt May die in live action. So it's shocking. It's unexpected. Everyone walks in expecting Uncle Ben to die. No one walks in expecting Aunt May to die. No one expects her to give the great power speech. They don't expect her to be the one that has this sort of wisdom, and we haven't seen that with this Spider-Man. So we all just assumed that he'd had that off camera, before the events of Civil War, but maybe he didn't. And I think that this film kind of reframes it as, this is him learning the lesson in that hard way, and I think it's an interesting kind of reshaping of it, of making it, Green Goblin who kills one of his great loves. Obviously, it's not Gwen Stacy here. It's his aunt. It's a different sort of love, obviously, but it's still powerful.
Yeah,
it's still powerful. And especially for me, I think the way they did it was just. It was heart-wrenching because she did get up and she was fine. I was just like, okay, all right, crisis averted, and then
Happy rolls in and sees what's happening.
Dude,
yeah, it's another brutal scene, following up on just this brutal beatdown between Gabi and Spidey. It's just
he took everything, or he took yeah.
Right, no, basically.
And then by the end of the movie, God damn it, Peter Parker, man, this is the most. It's the most. Black Panther had me broke down pretty good. Okay.
Yeah.
But it just speaks so much of the character. He gets Aunt May taken from him in the middle of this movie.
It's rough.
And then by the end of the movie, he gives everything in order to save everyone.
No, yeah.
So
yeah.
by the very end of the movie, Peter Parker's left with absolutely nothing.
It is kind of a fuck you, Peter Parker kind of movie.
And he still finds the humanity in himself to put away his note.
I mean, the Spider-Man.
Smile at Mary. Yeah.
He finds the Spider-Man inside him, and I think what we had talked about before, this movie gets Spider-Man right, and not only with the quote, which as soon as she said it, it just triggered something inside of me that I just started to get very emotional. And then as soon as she dies, it's tears start coming, and it's kind of almost continues for the rest, especially the second time I watched it, kind of just continued throughout the rest of the movie, either because of things that just made me so delighted, or just very emotional beats throughout the film. That's kind of where it starts. And I remember they had talked about on the interview circuit and stuff, they're this Spider-Man movie's gonna have some serious shit in it, and I assumed a lot of it was referring to this and probably the ending, but this I don't know, you kind of see it coming, but also it just hits so heavy, and it's hard to ignore the impact that Aunt May made, especially on Peter, but on multiple people, as you can see. And she
One
has
thing that you not to cut you off, but I'll forget, so I just have to say it.
No, go for it.
I'm sorry. You talked about how he's not a sidekick anymore. Maybe this movie just catapults him into being who he's supposed to be as Spider-Man. when he's got nothing, you know, in his apartment at the end of the movie, he's not wearing Tony's suit anymore.
No, that's true.
He's
He like
made,
made
He's wearing
his
something
own.
else.
he made his own suit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so now he's
on his own. Yeah.
he's on his own.
Yeah.
He's fucking doing
I like
his own
that.
thing.
Yeah.
And it was almost, you know, like at the end of one of the Andrew Garfield's movies after Gwen Stacy dies, you know, and she has the whole hope speech and everything else, you know what I mean? And he finds the will to push forward. It was just so well done, and it's all because of Aunt May. And the Spider-Mans, the other Spider-Men that come through and save Peter. You know what I mean? Because he was teetering on a line. He could have gone down a totally different path.
Yeah. No, I think they come in like at just the right time where like things are like at their lowest they could possibly be.
I mean, they come in.
Spider-Man him.
Aunt May has been killed.
Yeah.
And you know, his friends are just like, we need to find
Where's
Peter.
Peter? Yeah.
And they find some.
And they found a
obviously,
Peter
but,
Parker.
but yeah, you know, it really is kind of the low point of the film where everyone's feeling like shit, feeling bad about themselves. And they bring in.
We gotta talk about how they bring him in.
Let's go one by one. They bring in Andrew Garfield first. You know, he's in Spidey suit in that alleyway. As soon as he comes through the portal and unmasks himself, both of my audiences lost their shit.
Yes.
And they lost it when Toby entered too.
Like,
but like
you knew,
but Andrew's the first one that comes through.
Yeah, you know it's coming, and like it's clearly a different Spider-Man. But like, just you get that confirmation when he takes off the mask, and it's amazing. And like whatever you think of those movies, like it was such a joy to see Andrew Garfield in this film. Like
it's like he's finally gotten good material to work with,
right?
And
like
you have to feel good for him.
Oh,
you have to because he's been you know probably relentlessly shit on because he's been in a mediocre movie maybe and a very bad one, definitely. You know, but he himself was never the issue in those movies. You know what I mean? Like it was he clearly cared about the role.
Yeah,
as Peter, you know, was what it was, but he was a good Spider-Man. He was always a good Spider-Man. He kind of had the right personality and fit for that character. And he finally gets to have fun with it. You know what I mean? And be appreciated for having fun with it. It was a joy to see him back in this. Although just the whole lead up to this movie of everyone vehemently lying about like, no, I've never met Andrew Garfield in my life. He's not a real person. Tobey Maguire, I think he died like 10 years ago, so he's not going to be on this. So, you know.
Best line in the whole movie was talking about, so are you going to suit up or are you just going to stay dressed as like a cool youth pastor?
Cool youth pastor. That was legitimately hilarious.
I mean, just both of them coming in. There's enough scene, you know, it's not just a quick little cameo for him. They're in for like the last hour of the
main characters, yeah.
You know, and they each get kind of like another chapter added to their stories.
Like an arc, yeah.
From their movies. And I've seen, you know, a lot of people talking about like basically from when we see these characters, like nothing has happened in their lives for the most part. You know what I mean? Like they're not talking about new villains. Anytime they're talking about their experiences, they're just describing things that we saw in the previous films. And so it could have been a cool opportunity for Toby to have gone up against a Bruce Campbell Mysterio as we talk, you know, in like that Spider-Man 4 that didn't happen. It would have been interesting to hear. I guess one exception is Andrew Garfield does kind of allude to the fact that he starts murdering people at some point. You know, post Rhino, post the Man in the Rhinoceros
What storyline
machine.
is that? Is that a real Spider-Man story?
I don't think so. I think it's just basically, you know, it felt like Toby was very much just kind of Toby Man, you know what I mean, the whole time, which apparently Marvel is calling him the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and they're calling the Andrew Spider-Man the Amazing Spider-Man, which is appropriate. I think those are both like good kind of billings for those characters. But I think that like like Toby Man's kind of where he is. He's chilling with MJ clearly, and it's complicated as he says, but they seem to have made it work, and he seems to be in a happy place. He's a little bit older. He's trying to do better. He's a little wiser and a little older, and he knows when to step in and take a goblin a blade to the chest if need be and stuff. But Andrew's Spidey, I think, is the more interesting of the two in terms of like characterization for me.
Yeah,
because like Tobey's Spider-Man had a pretty fulfilled arc, even though it ended with the shitty third film. Like, fine, like you kind of got enough out of it that when you left it, you didn't need Spider-Man 4 at that point, but like, fine. Whereas Amazing Spider-Man 2 leaves it in a place where Gwen has died, and it's maybe sort of Spider-Man's fault. It's really not, as they frame it in the movie, but obviously he's going to feel responsibility for it and guilt over it, and clearly he does as we see it in this movie. But this movie kind of follows up on that. And I think that makes for a huge, huge emotional impact. And weirdly enough, it has way more emotional impact of just Andrew just, being kind of Peter B. Parker-ish from like Into the Spider-Verse, where he's just kind of, he's just a sad guy. You know what I mean? He's in a bad place emotionally. And he sells all like every ounce of that.
Oh, he brings
and
it.
all of his actions, and what he does, and the way that he talks about Gwen, and the way he talks about certain things, and just his worldview is so radically displaced by the events of the Amazing Spider-Man 2 that it makes me like, I don't appreciate Amazing Spider-Man 2 anymore. I still think it's a terrible film. But I got emotional still thinking about like, all right, well, this character,
No, you think about like
what he thinks is love his life. Like, it's a big fucking deal.
Yeah, right.
You think about the character.
Yeah, right.
It's all the characterization, man. It's so strong in this movie.
It's because the death of Gwen Stacy is an incredibly powerful character arc for him that they just happened to bungle the execution of in that film, and bury it in a very, very shitty film that makes it feel underserved by everything. But when you follow up on it with good material and good writing and good performances, from Andrew, like you feel the emotional impact of all that. So when he jumps down after, Tom Holland Spidey gets batted away and MJ's falling and Andrew comes in and swoops in,
he was able to save her.
Like he's more emotional than MJ is at that point when she's just almost fallen to her death. Like it's just a clear moment for him of kind of triumph and relief and everything. And like it's
another
like
fucking cry
5-second
moment for me.
Oh yeah,
for me too.
No,
not the first time because I had to pee, but the second time, like I was crying. Like I was just like, this dude in 5 seconds sold the shit out of everything.
Right.
Even though the Amazing Spider-Man franchise fucking sucked as a whole. Like that's good acting. That's what it is to me.
As Doom would say, like I gave moisture to the dead. But really, like, man, like I think that scene could have come off so cheesy. It's like such a like stereotypical thing of like someone's falling down, Spider-Man's got to save them, and like that Spider-Man number 3, as they call him, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, like couldn't save his Gwen Stacy, but like the way they did it, it just hits you. Like I think anyone who's watched that movie and like both has seen that movie, but also I think like maybe like understands Andrew Garfield's like personal life, like you can really feel that emotion, and he sells it. Like he really brings it to like, and he was in this movie for a good amount of time, so it's not like he just had to come in and shoot a few scenes. Like that scene, like really.
Even like the precedence of when he has to like break off and go and jump off. You know what I mean? Like I can still see him jumping off the platform. Like it's a memorable sequence.
It's like no hesitation, and then like as soon as he saves her, like it hits you. Like you like feel what he's feeling, and like the little bit of his face and like one line of dialogue holds like so many emotions and all these films and all these things in the past. Like, oh man, like he really sold it.
Yeah, that was the sack of bricks moment for me, right in the face. It was great, but I loved that the Spider-Man had a ton of chemistry,
Yeah,
You know, and I
it was
think
so
like
great. Like it was really
They all
well
felt
done.
like
Honestly-
Peter Parker.
most of it, I'm sure, was not acting. I think a lot of it was probably,
it seems so-
particularly from Tom and Andrew's standpoint,
It
probably
seemed
just genuine
natural.
joy, getting to share the screen with Toby and and be able to do this thing. Like, like Tom Holland's young enough. He fucking grew up. He's like us. He grew up watching these
Right,
fucking movies. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like. It's probably just like living the dream, you know what I mean? Like to be able to be on screen with these guys. So, there's an extended conversation about that stuff's coming out of you and
The web
is it
shooters,
coming out
yeah.
of anywhere else, and like that sort of thing. Like
Yeah.
it's just authentic and genuine. I wouldn't be surprised if there's chunks of it that were fully
I'll
just
take
like
it.
ad-libbed or whatever. The back stuff. My back was a good thing, and the cracking. And,
Hey, man, I just want you to know that you're
You're not
amazing.
lame. You're not
You're
lame.
amazing.
Why did you say that? Like, no, let's talk about this inner.
Yeah.
This,
What a
this,
good
inner
guy.
talk.
Fucking
I don't-
friendly
I don't-
neighborhood
like,
Peter Parker.
Man,
It's
I
very
don't mean to brag about myself, but I will. But I was in the Avengers. That's great. Who are the Avengers?
Are you in a band?
you know,
Just like it's so. This movie's so self-aware, but like in the right ways.
yeah, it's perfect. It's fan service. It's not. You can't deny
right,
it.
no.
But it's done so well.
But done really well. Like this is how you do it. Like it's
It's perfect. In terms of how they pulled it off.
Right. The bantering is like some of
and
the best part of this
The
whole
bantering
movie.
was good when they're fucking sciencing the shit out of things.
Oh, yeah.
Creating the courage for the villains. It's
Right.
a big
You gotta
big
cure
deal in
that
this movie.
ass.
Is you got to cure that ass. Yeah, the big deal in this movie is that's May's kind of imprint on Peter. Peter's just like, fuck these guys. They're gonna die.
Send 'em
They're
back.
gonna die.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I think is a totally valid standpoint.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Right.
But he's he's like, all right, I guess I'm a hero or whatever. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
if there's even a chance that I can save these psychopathic villains, then I guess I have to take it. And it comes at obviously ultimate personal cost for him. But he still realizes it in the end and shows that that's why he's a hero, is because he's in the world to do good, not to just keep things convenient and happy for him, So I was a little unsure about the cure stuff at first. I was just like, I mean, it's a room full of fucking villains. Of course they're going to betray you.
Yeah.
But some of them, like, I appreciated the way that it depicted the villains. Like Doc Ock, once he gets the chip, is back to being Otto Octavius, who's a good dude. He was a good dude in the Raimi films. You know what I mean? He was corrupted by the arms.
He's like, what's your name? Dr. Otto Octavius.
He was such a dick too. Those arms are dickish.
They were dickish.
Dude, he
Like,
was just yelling at him.
tired of your questions, boy.
No, that was like oh shit! Like as soon
I
as
did I lost
as soon
my
as Alfred
shit when he
Molina
just started
did it, I was like,
screaming at him.
oh, I'm like, okay.
What do you
He
mean?
was like-
What do you mean a ghost? We go. Oh, that.
He's
Fuck,
like,
that
you,
was so
you're gonna
good.
fix me like a dog? I'm like, oh shit!
But it was
Okay.
good.
Why don't you
And
just simmer
also,
down, Doc?
like Sandman in the beginning is just like, Peter, there's this fucking electric guy. I'm gonna help you out. I don't know what the fuck's going on. He's like, I'm not your Peter. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Fuck you. Like, just like his whole motivation is like, I just want to go home.
Yeah, he's like, just
like,
no,
he's just-
please.
He's like, I'm gonna fight you, but I just want to go home. Just press the button on the goddamn box
Yeah.
for fuck's sake.
Fucking
It's pretty much
Kirk
Sandman's
Connors
arc,
is
so,
still all about like, are you sure you don't want to become a lizard?
yeah.
it's
There's
like,
some serious merit
you
to
sure?
this. You should really consider it.
I'm like, come on, no.
You know,
Being locked in the
It-
dungeon.
it's good.
You're locked. Mary Jane
in
was
the wizard
excellent in this
dungeon.
movie too. Yes.
Comedic timing is very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, she's good. She's been great. I think particularly in Far From Home and this one, because Homecoming, it's kind of just setting her
Right,
up. She's
right.
not the love interest. She's just kind of there building towards her being a more focal point in these. But Zendaya is awesome, and Ned is good fun,
yeah.
and he's got some wizard like abilities.
He's the guy in the chair.
I've got the
Guy in the
magic.
chair.
You
He's got the magic.
you can take the guy out of the chair, but you can't take the chair out of the guy.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of appreciation for the scene with I think his Lola, where that's where the Andrew Spidey comes
Yeah.
through and is on the ceiling grabbing the cobwebs and stuff. That was pretty great.
Yeah, I will say like
Yeah.
I've heard several complaints about like how easily he like picks up the sling ring ability, And I think on one hand, I could definitely see that. On the other hand, I figured that he couldn't fully control it. He's kind of just like, maybe
I
has...
can close it, right?
Right. He has a natural like predilection to like open it, which like I get that like, Doctor Strange had to like really work for it.
Maybe he's just fucking inclined to magic.
Right. Like, and that's what his Lola said. Like his family is magical.
You're a wizard, Ned.
Right. So like, I think I'm okay with that. It wasn't such a stretch where I thought it's like, I can't buy this. But I can also see where some people are coming from.
Maybe Wong takes him underneath his wing and trains him in the art of magic. That'd be fucking cool.
The new Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, and that could be like a whole nother Disney spinoff. Like Wong teaches him fucking magic.
Maybe that's what Destin Daniel Cretton's getting up to. He's making a Ned Leeds magic spinoff.
Yeah.
Dude,
as long as he doesn't become the Hobgoblin and try to kill Peter and die in his hands.
Holy shit. Maybe he gets corrupted. Ned gets corrupted and becomes Hobgoblin.
They started teasing it, and I was like, don't do it.
It was fun because it's always been like a baffling decision where they're just like, we're just going to take Genki from Ultimate Spider-Man and just call him Ned Leeds. And I'm just like, well, okay, all right, whatever, man. Like, I guess that's fine. They didn't want to do Harry again. I get that because we've seen Harry twice and, we don't need to see it a third time perhaps. But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun... and the way the movie ends is like, Ned's, I don't know, like, do we see Ned and MJ in the next Spider-Man movie? I assume we at least see them, but are they big characters in this? Like, how quickly are they going to try to reverse this whole thing? Because I kind of feel like there's an opportunity to not do that right away. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe I'll save that thought for later. Maybe we'll talk about some ideas for future films, but let's exhaust every possible thread of this film for the next 4 to 5 hours. You thought when I said that an hour or two ago was funny, but buckle up. We've got more to talk about. No. We actually I think have covered quite a bit of ground here. I think there's really only a few things to touch on. Maybe
I think the last like action set piece that we kind of mentioned, but leading to like they have to capture all the villains themselves, which is not the Sinister Six. It's like some kind of 5. Like five is a crowd.
It's the Fabulous Five.
Fabulous Five, kind of thing.
Ferocious Five.
Yeah.
Did you see? Did you see the people in the stars?
Well, that's something. So I saw 2 distinctive 616 comic book designs. I saw Scorpion and I saw Rhino.
I saw
OG Rhino.
Yeah. The second time I went to the second time I saw Craven. I saw Craven the second time.
Is that the one holding the spear?
I think so, because he had some like
vest.
He had kind of like a vest type thing.
I feel like I keep getting distracted by the spear. I don't envision Craven with the spear.
Neither do I. I wasn't sure, but I just saw somebody with the spear.
I kind of got a Craven vibe the second time I saw it.
I've heard people say Craven. I've heard someone also cite Black Cat, like as well.
I got more of a Craven vibe.
That's where I'm like, I need like a high quality screen grab of that, and I want to like it's fucking cool.
Yeah,
and it's really awesome because it's like a neat way to do like these full comic booky designs and just kind of silhouetted for him, Some of those probably wouldn't. I don't know. I think the Amazing Spider-Man version of the Rhino is bad. But I do think it could be hard to do the full Rhino version of Rhino, too. So I kind of get it, But
no, the thing I was thinking
that was really cool. Yeah, go for it.
I was thinking about particular is like in that last fight, it ends up being Spider-Man #1 or Tom Holland, Peter Parker against the Green Goblin, and they're just hand-to-hand combat, like on top of the Captain America shield that was on top of the Liberty. The Statue of Liberty. It's just hand-to-hand combat, and Tom Holland's not holding back. He's like Andrew Garfield. He stopped pulling his punches, and he's just going at it, ready to kill him. And it's not until Spider-Man #2, Tobey Maguire stops him, like
catches
him. That was a powerful moment.
Yeah,
yes, it was.
And he doesn't even say anything. She just looks at him, and it's just like,
what are you doing?
That's all you need.
He's like, I know. He's like, I know that feeling. And like, you don't want to go forward. Like, you don't want to do this.
And he knows deep down in his heart that he doesn't want to go. You know?
And it's like the only people that could understand, like he's all mad, like you couldn't understand like what I've been through, and they're like, no, like it reminded me a lot of the Spider-Verse scene of like, it's like we're the only ones who couldn't understand, but it still worked because really, like, who else is gonna understand what you've been through than like you from a different dimension?
Yeah, no, it was powerful because I mean, it's Toby selling it with a look, and it's Tom, just rage and sadness in his eyes, just. Yeah, it tells you everything without really dialogue, needing to be exchanged.
It's good
it just
acting.
gives you everything you need there. It's great acting. Yeah, it's awesome. It's fantastic, and hey man, it's superhero shit and whatever, and you can naysay it all you want if it's not really your thing, but there's genuine emotionality, infused and some of these things, not all of them obviously, but this one
Specifically
particularly is
Spider-Man.
charged with it. Spider-Man's just he's a relatable character. It's what we talked about on the last, on the bonus episode. He's designed to be kind of an everyman, and he is, and everyone deals with loss. Everyone deals with pain, suffering, and maybe Peter Parker deals with it more than most, but
I feel like I've watched like fucking 7 movies of just
So
Peter
many
Parker
people
getting
die.
shit on.
just everyone he loves just getting killed. That's that's how it goes with him. But that's kind of how it goes for him is finding that path through the tragedy to still fundamentally be
Good.
Spider-Man, to be good, to stay good and stay good natured, and because if he wasn't, then he'd just be another supervillain waiting in the wings.
Right.
So
And that's Toby Maguire's Peter Parker that says, "I'm trying to do better."
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
good.
when he meets up with Doc Ock and
good.
like they're both just kind of like delighted
it's-
to see each other. I was like, this is great. Like it's just
Yeah.
I'm trying to do better.
It's good. I really am glad that we watched the prior 5 because I think that the weight of certain things, and even just the fun things of I'm something of a scientist myself, coming back for actual dialogue in this. It's fun. The power of the sun in the palm of my hand. Like it's fun seeing that all kind of brought back, but it has more impact when you've seen those things so recently. Just to feel like, oh man, they just didn't miss a beat. And I'm sure they rewatched that shit, ad nauseum, when they were kind of writing this and figuring out like, all right, how do we get this character in here? But it's all just done so well.
Yeah.
I think that's really the bottom line. And I this is just a thought I have. When the 3 Spider-Men swing together and then have their heroic landing, and then that's when they jump out to that sequence where they're fighting like the Lizard, Sandman, and
so
whoever
cool.
else is there at that point.
That's some
Like,
epic shit.
Is this before or after they have their talk? Let's focus on.
I think it's right after.
It's after because they they kind of get their ass kicked a little bit, and they're just like, all right, Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3, let's do this.
And then they kind of
and
swing,
then-
but they kind of use each other to
Yeah,
navigate
it's
around.
just like super heroic, like they're all kind of in front of the moon, and then just big landing. Oh man, that was just cool, and the way they work together as a team from that point is just awesome. Throwing all the fucking cures around.
Right.
Just the synergy is just fucking awesome to really see, and it just works so well, and it's fun. It's cool.
It's just
That's cool, man.
You can't get better than that. Like that's all you could want. I had a question like after watching the movie one time and still a second time, and this might have been because my I couldn't get through the last few minutes of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Does Max Dillon know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man? Because the whole thing is about like them bringing in it's like a minor plot points, and like this kind of goes into the mid credits. I'm like, I haven't seen the second Venom movie, but I assume that Eddie Brock doesn't know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and like the whole thing is about like them bringing in people who know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So like, did all of them know that?
The Venom one is explained, and I can get into that.
Okay.
I don't know if you just want to do the mid credits now. It doesn't matter. To
yeah,
me. I have one other like big thought for like spoilers before we
Yeah,
get
but
into
I guess Electro specifically.
Actually,
like, did Electro?
Actually, let's do it now because my big thought's going to feed right into our post credits, so I think that'll work out just fine. I have not seen Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Do you care about me spoiling an aspect of that film from its credits scene?
Just watch it. Yeah.
I assumed Andrew didn't. It was really mostly for Enrique's sake, if we're being entirely honest. So the mid-credits scene of that basically shows how Eddie Brock ends up in this universe. It's just the actual scene of it happening. And I don't. Basically, they see the beginning of this film where Peter's identity is revealed, and the symbiote says something to Eddie about, "Oh, I hate that guy," and Eddie's like, "What the fuck are you talking about, dude?" And there's some sort of dialogue that basically alludes to the fact that the symbiote itself is a hive mind with all symbiotes from every reality. So because we know for sure that Topher Grace's Venom knew who Peter Parker was in the Spider-Man 3 in the Raimi universe, theoretically every symbiote everywhere will also know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So that explains him coming in.
Okay.
I got no answer for Electro because I don't think the Amazing Spider-Man 2 touches on that. So I don't know if that's just an off-screen thing that we have to just kind of assume
that's what I'm
that happened
assuming
at some
just
point.
happens later or like where we didn't see it.
I don't know, but then I feel like when he's explaining like the point where he like gets drawn to the universe, feels like it's from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, I think, but
can't be sure.
I don't know. It's you know, it's
I can ignore
I guess, if
it,
nothing else. Yeah.
Question for you guys before we dive into any sort of other credit scenes or anything. Does this movie exist after Loki? After the Loki show?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, was there a multiverse?
By default, doesn't it have to be?
Was there a multiverse before it started to splinter?
I think my inclination to say it happens after Loki, but I don't know that for a fact.
I just feel like the simplest explanation for anything multiverse related is
after Loki.
After Loki, because before Loki,
there was only one main timeline.
There was only, any possible branch has been clipped or culled or sent to the fucking wherever realm.
Gotcha.
Such that there's the prime timeline or whatever they call it in the show. And so when that evaporates, then you can assume that everything is on the table at that point. So multiverse is
it only
now
exists
real.
after Loki, right? Like so.
Maybe the Toby and Andrew timelines always existed, but they were just kind of pruned or whatever. But now everything is in the same melting pot, such that if you cast a spell and it gets fucked up mid spell, now they're accessible. Maybe they weren't accessible before. Maybe they were. I don't know. It's I don't know. We know frighteningly little about the multiverse. That's what I would say.
Good pool. I will say one parting thing before we dive into deeper conversation.
Yeah,
is Doctor Strange is like, even though he's not Sorcerer Supreme, he is
on a technicality.
He is indeed rocking the fucking magic in this movie. Like he,
yeah. Well, that was going to be my last thing I was going to say is we really didn't talk about Spider-Man versus Doctor Strange because we do kind of get that.
That's true. Yeah,
we do.
We get the astral projection and we get Peter swimming in astral form, which was pretty incredible.
And somehow he can still move his body like he didn't.
Yeah, I feel like it's a spider sense thing. Like the body's like.
Did you see the things over his head?
Yeah, you see it kind of tingling. Like.
Yeah, it's the Peter tingle. I feel like it's the Peter tingle. Like it's just it's inherent. It's ingrained. Like he doesn't have to instinctively, or he doesn't have to physically do it or think about doing it. It's just intuition basically at that point. But the fucking mirror dimension stuff was awesome. I thought
that's crazy.
Just great visually, just the train shit and fucking cities folding. Like, I don't know, man. I'm a sucker for all that sort of shit. And
I like how it was all geometry though.
So
he's just like,
that's true.
This.
That was a good way to outsmart him.
Got this.
Geometry, Peter. You're great at geometry.
Pay attention in class, kids.
But yeah, actually, that was the only thing I wanted to say was we just really hadn't touched on the whole Doctor Strange part of this film, which obviously is a pretty good chunk of the first act. Disappears for a bit, comes back around and helps out a little bit, and is obviously the one that casts that spell that gets Peter to the point where he's making everyone forget him. Heartbreaking, just truly heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I take it back. I have one more final thought. Then we'll do both credits. I feel like we talked a little bit about the ending.
Yeah, but I think the final,
even
like final kind of scenes were like the going back to the coffee shop. Like I think like Peter's decision. The first time I watched it, I was a little conflicted. I'm like the decision to like everyone forget who Peter is and then go back and like do I do or do not tell MJ who I am? At first, the first viewing, I was kind of a little bit conflicted about it, but I totally see it. You know, it's like it's Spider-Man. Like, he makes a big sacrifice, and he's willing to do the things. And like as Peter 2 said it in his movie, I think Spider-Man 2, like to give up what you like care for most, or like give up the thing you most want. You know, so I think that's very Spider-Man to do, and it's tragic, but you kind of see him almost back to like original Spider-Man at the end. Like, I do like the implications of what it sets up at the end. Like, this is like a almost MCU separate Spider-Man. Like, he doesn't have Tony Stark weapons. He doesn't have, unfortunately, he doesn't have Aunt May. But like, I kind of like that ending and what it could bring in the future. And I would love to see another movie with Tom Holland in this new role if he comes back for it. So I think it's exciting.
I mean, I think it's great. You know, we've kind of gotten this sort of 3-film origin story for how Peter Parker truly becomes Spider-Man. You know, and Spider-Man in and of himself, you know, without Iron Man's help, without Fury's help, without Doctor Strange's help, like he's now very much his own superhero without aid. And you know, it's you know, I hope and assume we're going to get another one, and that's going to be it's going to be about how he navigates that, you know, and it's going to be about how he navigates it alone, and maybe he makes new friends and maybe he doesn't. Yeah. You know, I think narratively in this one, you didn't need to reset. You know, you didn't have to immediately be like, oh yeah, MJ remembers everything now. Like, you know, because it kind of undercuts the sacrifice that he makes 5 minutes prior. And you know, if they make that you know, if it takes another movie for that to happen, if it takes another 2-3 movies for that to happen, like, I think it's fine. I think you want to, you know, because I think this is such a really, you know, creative and compelling version of MJ. I think you want to build it back to a point where Peter and MJ are the end game, and you know, but I think that you can certainly take your time getting there if you so choose. You know, I don't think you want to put in a Gwen in this universe. I think that would feel weird. But a Black Cat would be a fun, you know, romantic diversion for a movie. I guess they've already done Betty and Liz Allen, so you're kind of cut off there. But you know, Peter's a hard luck kind of guy. I don't know. I think there's a few avenues you can go to try to eventually build back toward, you know, bringing back MJ and Ned into the fold, or if you want to bring him in right away and build toward it within that movie, I think that's fine too. I just think the movie kind of narratively sets them up in MIT. Peter's a New York guy. He's not going to be in Boston.
Different city, right?
You know, so I think that he'll get his GED, go to Empire State University, and that'll be that. And we'll get, hopefully, you know, if we can get a college trilogy, you know, set of Spider-Man movies, like, awesome. Yeah, I think that's great. You know,
I think there's a prime like space for either if you have one movie or 3 movies. So it was like Craven being at the center of one of them, and then a handoff to like Miles Morales, like a natural kind of like
set up Miles.
You know, we set up a new Spider-Man, and then Tom Holland can stop and go off and do his thing, and you can have someone
more Uncharted,
right? Yeah. You can have someone new take over.
Finally be old enough to be Nathan Drake. It'll be great.
So I think you could, if you do it well, Sony, you could make more Peter Parker movies and then transition it to a Miles Morales.
And what he means by if you do it well is just let Marvel Studios continue to make all these films for you. That's what he means, I think.
Right.
But yeah, that last the Spidey suit we got at the end was a thing of beauty in my assessment.
It's pretty great.
Yes.
Just a nice shade of blue, just the classic Spider logo. You know, just so comic booky, but in the right ways. I like the suits throughout the movie, don't get me wrong. Like, I think like the Inside Out one was kind of fun, and the extra little Iron Spider on top of the black and red suit was fucking cool, but nothing for me beats classic red and blue Spidey. You know, and now that he has the fucking, you know, the emotive eyes, like
That's so
I think
cool.
I think we're in peak Spider-Man suit territory. So once we get a clearer look at whatever he's wearing, hopefully in a Spider-Man 4, I think it might be a goat suit for me. So I think that does it for the main portion of Spider-Man No Way Home, and really that does it for all of it narratively speaking, because our post-credit sequence did not set anything up for Spider-Man, but it instead chose for the first time in a while to present a teaser for a new film, a teaser for a little film called Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which Doctor Strange will return.
Shit.
So what'd you guys think about this? It's basically a teaser trailer.
Is that the what if? Is that the what if Doctor Strange in there?
I don't know. It sure seems
That's
to.
what I was
him,
thinking. Like in Doctor Strange Supreme, yeah.
Is it on the YouTubes?
don't
Can
know.
I just find a picture of it?
Probably in terrible quality.
I'm sure if you scour the internet long enough, you could find certainly a rip of it somewhere.
I watched it again, obviously, like knowing it.
Seeing it twice,
And
right? Yeah.
He didn't have the cape with the cowl, like that was definitively the Strange Supreme. So I was like, it could be, but it didn't give me a definitive like yes.
At the same time, there are infinite realities.
There's so many
it doesn't
Stranges.
have to be the one. There could just be a bunch of evil Doctor Stranges running around in this movie.
But that was fucking cool. Like, what a trailer. Just like, you
cool.
and you get a lot. Like, you get Strange, you get Wanda, you get America Chavez, you get fucking this evil Doctor Strange, maybe Strange Supreme. Like, you get Mordo coming back.
You get Mordo's
fucking,
got dreads now. Fucking cool as shit.
Shumagorath. You get a lot in whatever, maybe 2 minutes, if that. Like, damn.
Yeah, not even, probably like, I think it's shorter. It's like 60, 70 seconds,
like,
something like that. It's just
minute and change.
It is intense.
It's almost like it's almost, I don't know, it's almost even more of a sizzle reel than it is like a teaser, because it's not, it's cut almost in a different way than like a traditional teaser trailer will be. Like I think when we'll get an actual teaser trailer in the next few months, and it'll be different from this. I guess anyway. But it's just throwing a lot of cool shit at you, and like that's all you need. Like just get you hyped for the next thing. Come a year from now when Doctor Strange 2 is already out, like it's going to be like, all right, it's not as exciting now, but like in the moment, it's pretty fucking exciting, to be able to kind of see just the little teases of what this movie's going to be. I'm excited. Fucking Strange and Wanda and her awesome.
And we get
fucking
what's his face
WandaVision
back?
Final outfit.
Mordo,
Mordo, yes.
the dreads,
Mordo, yeah. We saw Rachel
dreads.
McAdams for I think at least one split second.
She was getting married.
She's getting married, I think. Probably not to Doctor Strange because misery loves company, but we'll see. Maybe it's an alternate version of Doctor Strange. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited, and it's the next one we're getting. It's in May. We have a good wait left for it. Technically, we don't have anything MCU wise scheduled until then. I wouldn't be shocked if a Disney Plus show drops, or at least starts before then. But
we get some Star Wars and stuff. So
we got Boba Fett.
Right.
We still got one more Hawkeye as of recording. So we're
The Expanse.
We'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll
be fine. But we've got 4+ months, probably close to 5 months to wait for old Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
But I liked what I saw. I'm excited. I'm intrigued. I think it's going to be if a movie is called blah 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 in the Multiverse of Madness, I'm expecting some shit to go
madness.
down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what they do with it. And I guess we kind of didn't really touch on the most critical aspect of the mid-credits scene is the symbiote getting left behind in the MCU.
Oh yeah, the
just
mid-credit
a little piece of it. So Venom is presumably one direction that they would go in for any future sequels,
right?
And presumably it would not be the Tom Hardy Venom. You know what I mean? Which is great. Tom Hardy can fuck off in his own corner of the universe. People have suggested that the Andrew Garfield one be relegated to that, and like honestly,
that's fine.
It's doing Andrew dirty a little bit, but like fine. Give him another movie. He can play with Venom for a bit. I'm okay with that. Giving Tom Holland his actual own Venom that like has a connection to Peter Parker and Spider-Man, that would be cool. That could be cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
right.
So I'll be excited to see where they go with that. And so yeah, I guess stay tuned on what the next direction is for Spider-Man in the MCU. I think that clearly this is a partnership that breeds results, as we saw with the box office numbers, and I think that all parties involved would be very silly to try to distance themselves from
why
each
would you
other,
wanna fuck it
especially
up?
after the post Far From Home bullshit, where it seemed like for a time things weren't going to
God,
come
that was
together
scary.
No
again,
shit.
you know.
That was the darkest
So
timeline.
so play nice. Let Sony play with their stupid toys and make their Morbius and Craven and Madam Web movies and, their whatever dumb bullshit they're up to. But, maybe even let them make Amazing Spider-Man 3. It's fine. Just let them make it. Maybe throw some good writers on it or something like that. That would be courteous to Andrew Garfield, but yeah. I'm excited to see where the future goes. I hope that, like I said, all parties play nice with each other, and it kind of winds up being something satisfying for everyone. For Tom Holland Spider-Man fans, or Garfield Spider-Man fans, they're out there. I know they exist. The Tom Hardy Venom fans, like everyone can have their toys. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So yeah, I think that's what we have to say on Spider-Man: No Way Home. Does anyone want to offer any final thoughts? Is this top tier Spider-Man films? Is this Into the Spider-Verse tier?
Ooh.
I know I kind of talked about that
Yeah.
earlier. Is it up there? Is it Spider-Man 2 tier?
It's up.
It's a tough
Is it up
question.
there? Or is it
I
hard
think
to
it's.
say?
I think it's my favorite Spider-Man movie, live action Spider-Man
Okay.
movie.
Favorite live action? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I need more time to watch
time,
it,
right?
process it. It's to me, it's easily top 3 all Spider-Man movies. Into the Spider-Verse is probably still my number 1. Spider-Man 2 and
Okay.
this one are definitely the next 2 to discuss. So I think time will tell how I go back and feel about them. But I think this solidifies my top 3 for sure in some order.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's got to be up there. I'll need some time, sit with it for a bit, rewatch it a couple more times. But I think it's live action wise, it's got to be up there. I think it's, at least in terms of the Tom Holland ones, it's at least it's close to Homecoming. I'm a huge fan of Homecoming, but I might put it a step above Far From Home for me. I think just because of how much it goes for and succeeds, it just kind of feels like it kind of has to be up there. It's definitely one of the most satisfying Spider-Man films that we've seen. Even though it ends with kind of a bit of a downer.
Yeah.
I still think that the journey to get there and the way that it pays off, it doesn't feel unearned or anything like that. It really does kind of just stick the landing. So yeah, I think it's in the upper echelon of the Spider-Man films.
Oh, yeah.
Just in general. So yeah. All right. Well, I think this is the part of the show where I ask what everyone has been up to. So, who wants to begin?
I was gonna give a couple. You asked about it last time, reading recommendations for Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
I haven't read anything Spider-Man recently, but in the last episode I shouted out Spider-Man Blue that I got behind me. It's a great Gwen Stacy story. Obviously a big fan of the Ultimate Spider-Man run. It's like a classic, but retelling of Stanley and Steve Ditko's Spider-Man, and then Kraven's Last Hunt. We'll get that on the screen at some point, I'm sure, but do yourself a favor and read it beforehand. Obviously, this is a Spider-Verse type movie, and there is a Spider-Verse comic. And it's pretty fun. I can't say it's the greatest thing ever, but I quite enjoyed it. It's actually focused more around Silk as the central focus, and there's a lot of Peter Parkers, there's a lot of Spider-Man. So I think if you enjoyed Into the Spider-Verse, No Way Home, that kind of Spider-Man, different Spider people story, the Spider-Verse story is pretty fun. It's a crossover series. And then obviously there's the classics, The Night Gwen Stacy Died touches upon Amazing Spider-Man and this one. And then the very first intro to Spider-Man in Amazing Fantasy 15 is a fun kind of old, You know, and I think anytime you go back and you read those comics from the 60s or whenever, it's interesting because it's just very different, but it's fun. Like, I think you can either pick up a collectible or go back on an app or something and just breeze through it. It's pretty fun to kind of read some of those old comics. But there's a lot of good stuff out there, much more that I didn't name.
Yeah, I'm like at the point where I'm just like, do I go on a Marvel Unlimited subscription? Because there's just, I mean,
so
there's
much
obviously
there.
You know, so much in terms of Spider-Man, but honestly, just those classics. I have read a lot of the original Spideys back in the day, and I think they, you know, they're old timey in many ways, but they do hold up, and you know, you see these kind of original incarnations of these villains. Like, yeah, they are classic. You know, the modern ones add a little bit more depth and nuance to certain things, but you know, there's a reason that it kind of propelled Spider-Man into being the most, you know, popular character,
right?
You know, and so those are good. I would actually add one recommendation, which is not a specifically Spider-Man recommendation, but the Spider-Gwen comics, I think, are actually really great. I read the original run on it, and then I got a renumbering, relaunch type thing, and I read at least part of that run, and I'm not sure if I finished that, but I probably read 15 to 20 issues in total. And as far as I read, they were like really, really fun, you know, and a good kind of same thing, like Spider-Verse-y, like riffs on things where like Matt Murdock is like he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer. Yeah. He's a fucking villain. So, you know, there's that. Peter Parker's dead in that universe.
Yeah.
And well, I don't want to spoil that, but you know, it's that you know, Gwen becoming Spider-Woman is because Peter died, you know. It's just really interesting kind of send up of like the entire, all the characters basically. So it's really interesting and worth checking out for that aspect of it. And Ultimate Spider-Man I'll co-sign, because I think Ultimate Spider-Man is also a great like send up of the original kind of aspects of Spider-Man, characters of Spider-Man, and it's just written beautifully with really, really beautiful art as well. So, but yeah, I might go in on that Marvel Unlimited. I'm tempted.
Yeah,
I won't lie. So anyway, I think those are some recommendations to start with. Certainly in terms of Spider-Man. But is there any other recommendations you want to talk about in terms of things you've watched, played, seen, etc.?
Sure. So I've recently rewatched the Fellowship of the Rings classic.
Nice.
You know, story. I got it. The 4K. We watched the extended edition. It's probably the first time I watched the extended edition in a long time, and it's so long. It's 2 4K discs. You literally have to.
They're all going to be split.
You go up into the point where like they create the Fellowship, and you have to put it in a new disc. And I was like, "Holy shit, this is long!" But it's
I'm sorry. Is this a VHS? What are we doing?
Right.
Here?
I was like, you have to flip the VHS to Titanic. Like, I think the last time I did this was on the Titanic. But it's a great story. Obviously, I think some of the CGI doesn't hold up as well, but they don't. It's not like all over the place. Like it's like very limited.
Most of it's practically done. I think, you know, it aged well enough.
Yeah, no, I think it still holds up very well. It's fantastic story. We just need some time to watch the next two. But I know Fellowship is Easling's favorite. I think Return is probably my favorite, just because I'm a big Aragorn fan. But it's all three are legitimately good and great movies. So
yeah,
always a good time watching that. And I feel like for some reason they're kind of like a holiday time. They have like nothing to do with Christmas or the holidays, but for some reason they just seem to be like holiday type movies. But I watched West Side Story, the Steven Spielberg remake, and I thought it was quite good. I didn't have a great connection with the original movie. Obviously, it's a screenplay. I had watched the original movie probably once when I was younger. I didn't remember the story really well, so a lot of it felt kind of new to me. And it's obviously a Romeo and Juliet retelling, so you can expect certain tropes and things there, but I thought it was well done, and obviously it performed very poorly in the box office, and I won't get into it, but we bought tickets and we went, and we hadn't had dinner yet, so we ordered dinner because this is like a dine-in movie type theater, kind of like the Cobb that you went to, Andrew.
Yeah.
But you can only order on your phone. Like, you can't go up to the bar or whatever to order food. So we order the food on our phone. We just get like a pizza and a salad and a fountain drink. So we're waiting there. It's like, it says it's going to be delivered 30 minutes in the movie. I'm like, well, that's not great. Someone's going to come like bring the food in 30 minutes in the movie, but whatever. An hour goes into the movie. There's no one with our food.
Oh,
and I'm like,
man.
well, we don't want to leave and like miss the movie. So we just watch the whole movie. We leave. Our food is like right outside. And like, apparently it didn't get through like our seat number. Like, I have no clue what happened there.
God, I'd be pissed.
But they like tried to find us. They couldn't do it. And like, I definitely felt some sympathy for Colton in this moment, because we had the manager come over. And the manager naturally just like had to be like, well, I don't know what happened, but here's some free tickets and whatever. So it was fine, but
that's the solution to everything. It's just like, oh, free tickets.
That's what I figured. I'm like, they're just gonna give us some free tickets, and it's okay. Like, you definitely took a little bit of my enjoyment, because the whole time I was like, is someone gonna come bring food, or someone gonna not, like, because they're gonna literally have to walk in.
I mean,
like, if I could have gone to pick up my food. There weren't that many people. There were some people, so it wasn't completely empty. Okay. It was like, maybe 20 people total in the theater, but I still would have felt bad, like, people coming in and like distributing food an hour into the movie. But aside from that, I thought it was well done. I've heard a lot of things about how, like, well, this movie tanked because it was so woke and they took out subtitles. I'm like, I think that has nothing to do with it. I think that's like, frankly, a stupid argument. And like, I think this movie didn't do well because the movie theater audience isn't like going to see it. But I don't know. Like, I think it's a good movie. My parents, who are fans of West Side Story, didn't even know this was coming out. So I think,
there you go. That's probably why it's doing shitty.
Right. I think, like, I'm not the target audience, but I still went to go see it. But I think the movie itself is a good movie. I think that there's still questions about, like, people that are not Puerto Rican making, like, a movie that's, like, half about Puerto Rican characters. But I think this is a lot better than the original in terms of that sense. So I definitely didn't get the sense.
I should hope so.
Right,
Anna and I rented the original.
Right, it's a lot of people just like spray painting their face.
Maria is she's just a white girl.
Right,
she's just a white girl.
And I don't think this movie is perfect, but I did not walk out of this movie being like,
face.
Yeah,
lots of brown face.
Right, I didn't walk out of this movie thinking like, well, this was the most woke film I've ever seen. I was like, it probably has some work to do, but
right.
But I thought like it's like. So I don't think that
having Ansel Elgort as your lead, not great.
Complicates things for sure.
But yeah. Spielberg directing a musical is interesting, and I want to see it. I want to see it at some point.
I think
I'll
I
probably be in
recommend
theaters for all of fucking 2 weeks because of Spider-Man taking over everything and it bombing. But I'll try to see it.
No, I think it's worth going and worth spending some time. It's obviously a musical. It's that kind of movie, but I think the music is good. The dancing is good. The story is good, even though like it's
Romeo and Juliet.
Right, it's Romeo and Juliet.
It's a classic story.
It's a very
You've seen it and heard it a million times, but it's still a good story.
Right. It's a very brash, like people fall in love, make stupid decisions, they're young. But no, I say go check out West Side Story. And yeah, I haven't watched too many other things. One thing that I wholeheartedly recommend is the PlayStation, I think it's only on PlayStation, Guardians of the Galaxy video game.
Yeah.
I picked it up. I picked it up on Black Friday.
How much have you played of it?
Probably at least a third of it. I think it's only like 20 hours. It's legitimately great, and I think it strikes.
I've heard great things.
I think it strikes the right balance of doing stuff from the movies and doing stuff from the comics. There's a lot of like comics lore in this, like Fucking, they like name drop my boy Richard Rider, every few sentences. Like, it's got Corel, it's got obviously the Guardians, it's got like Richard Flagg, like it's got so many like great people from the comics and like great things from the comics too. Like, it's got the whole like Star-Lord is like old kid who like listens to music and like is obsessed with his music and like wears the red leather jacket, but he's also like, he changed his origin back to the comics. Like, his dad is like the king of Spartax,
right,
or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think the gameplay is actually quite fun. It's not overly complex, but it's got a fun element to it. Like, you control Star-Lord, but then he can control the Guardians. It's very linear. It's very cinematic, and it's very fun. It's just a fun game to play, and like the voice cast, I think is very well done. Like, the way the story plays out, it's just a fun mix of what makes the comics great and what makes the movies great, and puts it in a video game. So I'm really excited to keep playing it. It's got a lot of great Easter eggs and things, and I hope it does well to make a sequel. Because I haven't finished it, but I see a lot of places that it could go with for a sequel. It's like just a lot of lore. They start talking about these wars and things, and like what happened to Thanos and what happened to so and so, and there's like files that you pick up and read about characters, and it's very rich. But the story itself, even if you're not a fan of all that, I think the story itself is just fun. And
yeah, it sounds fucking awesome.
It's a fun game.
I've heard so many good things. I feel like people were really disappointed with the Avengers game that came out, and like I still haven't played that. And this one I feel like was getting shit on kind of in the lead up to launch, but then people were like, "Oh yeah, actually it's really fucking good." So play it. So
pretty exciting.
So maybe I'll get it for Christmas.
The trailer didn't sell me on it, but it's good.
Yeah, I was the same way.
It's really good. Like, I think the visuals look great. I'm playing it on the PS5, and like it looks stunning. On the like, I've had a few glitches here and there, but otherwise the graphics look great. Like,
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's
cool.
It's ultimately it's just really fun. And like, if you want to spend at least 20 hours playing a really fun game like this, I think this is a good one. I recommend it.
Cool. Nice. Yeah. Andrew, have you been up to anything in your corner?
I downloaded a game called Cuphead on the Switch.
Oh,
nice.
Classic.
Nice. I've heard it's a little tough. Would you say it's a little tough?
It's a little tough, but it's pretty fun.
A little challenging.
Yeah,
okay,
I like it.
I think I actually have it on Switch. I just haven't played it.
They're they're real quick little levels. You know what I mean? So I don't sit down and grind anything out a whole lot anymore. Although I told Sarah when Elden Ring comes out, I will be buying a PlayStation 5 and I will be playing the fuck out of that video game.
Yeah.
Very excited about that. But yeah, so I downloaded Cuphead and I downloaded another game called I think it's Sundered. It's like it looks like a Lovecraftian kind of art style, but it's kind of like a bullet hell game. It's not as good as it looked. I don't think I haven't gotten super into it, but I definitely really like Cuphead. I've caught up on Hawkeye, which I think is fabulous. We'll talk about it. I think it's a really cool show.
Yep. Just one more left as of recording, so it'll be done by the time this goes up. Yeah.
I'll
have to find time for that.
I would like to watch. I'd like to watch The Witcher. Haven't started
Season 2
it.
is now out.
I did start the first 5 or 10 minutes worth of The Expanse. But I have and that looked really cool. Like, I'm into it.
I did, because we talked about that I think we talked about the trailer. It's only 6 episodes this season, which is a little bit of a bummer. Although I'm still like 30 episodes behind. So what are you going to do? But they are doing weekly releases for that, as you've probably discovered.
Yes,
they're not doing like the 3 at once. So I think it's just fully 6 weeks. They're kind of spreading it out. So I think 2 or 3 have come out so far. So you got a little bit to wait for it to wrap up, but certainly some are there for you to enjoy when you have the time.
Yeah, I think there's 2 up now. And We watched CHVRCHES Christmas Vacation.
Nice. It is the Christmas season, so
yeah,
you know,
we did watch that.
get some Christmas movies in. That'll probably be the next episode for me, is talking about all the Christmas movies that I watched. So.
Yeah, we watched Home Alone yesterday. That was quite fun.
Nice.
We did watch Home Alone.
Very
Fucking
good.
Wet Bandits.
Very good.
Yeah, we did watch Home Alone. I love fucking Home Alone. I think Home
good
Alone might be
stuff.
my favorite Christmas movie.
Good stuff.
What else have I been up to? I think it might be it. Just working. Just been working a lot.
But you'll be in Georgia soon.
I will be in Georgia soon.
Remembered something else.
I did watch a comedian last night, I think it was, or the night before. It's pretty funny. Can't remember his name. It was on Netflix. It was a British guy. He was pretty funny. And
there's only a few British comedians, so
only
I'm
a
sure
few.
people can narrow it down.
yeah. I think that's really it. Stormlight Archive.
Oh, where you at?
Yeah, what's going on with that? Are you must be fully into Oathbringer at this point?
I think I'm 30 chapters in.
Oh shit!
Holy shit!
Damn,
I think.
you passed me.
You're past both of us,
Yeah.
so
I think.
we're
let me
left in the
confirm.
dust.
Hold on a second here.
Oh man,
I'm
it
25
sucks, like,
chapters in.
Oh, yeah, we're fucking over exaggerating. 30. Fuck off.
I'm 25 chapters in, which is a total of I have 44 hours left. It's quite the novel.
That's still probably a couple
yeah.
hundred pages or close to.
It's
I don't remember
it's
where it
setting
was.
up. It's really cool, because where the last book kind of left you off, it 1 and 2 really felt like the first and second novel really felt like an urgency. There's an urgency to everything that we're doing, right? There's something happening. We need to figure out what the fuck's happening, and it's real snappy between 1 and 2. The third book though is like, how do we grapple with what's happened, right? How do we live with, and how do we eventually go beyond what's happened? And it's because I was a little concerned. It's like, how is it going to hold my interest without the urgency, the sense of urgency? You know what I mean? But it's really good. I'm 110% in on it.
Yeah.
I do miss the character though, of Lift from Edge Dancer.
Oh.
I, in the short little novella here, I found myself really attached to this person, the main character in this book.
Well, I assume that Sanderson has bigger plans for her at some point.
She does.
I don't know when. I don't know when. So I just
I think that this person becomes a point of view character. I think in Rhythm of War. I think either that or later on in this book, but she hasn't become a.
Just got to get through another 44 hours, and then you'll be there.
Boom! Exactly. It's real good shit though. Highly recommend it. Yeah. Really, I think that's about it.
I didn't need the recommendation. I just need to finish Dune, and then I'm on to Oathbringer myself. That's the plan. So, anything else for you, Andrew? Does that conclude your?
No, I'm about to listen to
entries?
you. It looks like you've been up to quite a bit.
I've been up to quite a bit. So
Buckle up.
fasten your seatbelts, my friends. Buckle up. I'm going to start with the things that I've done, like my personal life, like fun things that I've done. Like going to a concert. The first concert that I've been to since the pre-pandemic times.
It's been a while.
I had to look it up. The last concert that I went to was Tool, who I saw in Atlantic City, and that was excellent.
I missed that.
And so I saw CHVRCHES. I saw CHVRCHES live.
Nice. How was that?
They were excellent. It was super, super fun. They played in Philly. The venue was kind of weird. It was like if you bought a drink at the bar, you weren't allowed to go back into the main space. So I had to fucking chug my beer. And so I had a very similar problem as they did with Spider-Man No Way Home. We're halfway through their set. I'm like, oh shit. But then we were right next to the bathroom. So I just took care of that, and then I enjoyed the rest of the show in peace. But they were awesome. It was really, really fun to see a live show. Anyone that's seen a concert, and I would hope that that's most people listening to this, they know that live music just carries a very different energy than listening to albums and stuff like that. And obviously there's something to be said for jamming and blasting music at home and stuff like that, but just seeing a show was just really, really revitalizing and refreshing in many ways. And it was the first concert actually that Anna and I had been to together, and we're engaged, so it was just like, oh shit, this might be a real test of our relationship. Let's see if we're still going to be compatible after this. And we did just fine. We were vibing. It was good. It was really fun. It's a lot of fucking people. That was a little like, and it was an indoor venue, so it was kind of like that was a little, I don't know,
a little testy, huh?
A little testy, yes, for sure. But we made it. And it was good fun, and CHVRCHES is an excellent band. Their new album, Screen Violence, is awesome. Check it out. It's, I think, one of their best, if not their best album. We also took a little excursion to New York City very recently being the weekend before recording this. We did a Saturday day trip to the city, and we kind of tried to pack in a nice full day together. The weather was looking pretty shitty. It looked like it was going to be cold and rainy, but it was mostly just cold. So when we got in, we took a bus in. We took a bus in because we didn't want to deal with driving. It's one thing I never want to do in my life is drive in New York City. I have no desire to do it ever in my life. There's no desire.
I did it once. It's not. Don't do it.
So I won't. I'll take your recommendation. I will not do it. When we got in, I think, we went into Macy's at first. The Macy's in Manhattan is a goddamn labyrinth. It was kind of fun to navigate through, but it was a goddamn labyrinth. And after that, we went to a little pizza joint called Joe's Pizza. Now, I don't know if you guys know about Joe's Pizza, but once upon a time, a little character named Peter Parker was slinging pies for
That's what it
Spider-Man
was.
2.
Joe's Pizza. I thought it sounded familiar.
20-minute guarantee.
So this was purely coincidence, I promise. We went there because I looked it up and they got really good reviews. And the original location, I think, is Greenwich Village. We went to the Times Square location just because that's kind of closer to where we were spit out. And there's a bunch of pictures on the wall of like celebrities and shit, and there's a picture of Toby from Spider-Man 2, and there's a big sign on the wall that says "As Seen in Spider-Man."
Nice.
That's awesome.
So we got some authentic slices of some New York pizza, and they were fucking excellent. I got a cheese and a pepperoni, it was fun. Just the Spider-Man connection made it worthwhile, but it was really good. And then we went to what was my first Broadway show ever. I've never seen a show on Broadway. And so we saw Wicked, which is Anna's favorite musical. And I fucking loved it. I loved every second of it. It was so much fun to be able to do that. And we were fortunate because a lot of Broadway shows had been canceled recently because of positive COVID tests within the touring companies. And so lucked out. I guess everything was A-okay for Wicked, and the music is fantastic. It's an interesting, like, fun riff on the Wizard of Oz, telling it from the perspective of the Wicked Witch of the West. It's based off of a novel also called Wicked, which was written by an author who's like kind of local to where Anna's from, and so I think she's had like signed copies of some of the books. She's read the book. There's like 3 sequels. She's read a couple of them, and I think she's likes them a lot. I think I read the actual Wizard of Oz back in the day. I don't remember exactly, but I remember liking it. But anyway, I like the Wizard of Oz, and Wicked was just kind of like, just kind of right up my alley. Just a nice. I don't know. The musical was just refreshing. It was a very fun story with fun characters. The music was just engaging. It was kind of more light, like a lighter fare that just kind of kept you engaged the whole way. I don't really know how to describe it. Part of it, obviously, I'm sure, was just the grandeur of seeing things on Broadway and kind of, being sucked in by that. But it was awesome. Beyond that, we went to the Rockefeller Center. We looked at all like the Christmas decorations because like New York City's like super festive for Christmas. Saw the big ass Christmas tree. It's like fucking 3,000 stories tall. I don't know how tall it actually is, but it's fucking enormous. It's the biggest Christmas tree I've ever seen. So that was fun. Went to the Nintendo store in New York. I've never been.
Oh, nice.
I'll send you guys a nice cool picture of me hanging out with Bowser. We're bros now, so it's not a big deal. Don't be jealous. And then we had a lovely, lovely, lovely dinner in Hell's Kitchen. I met Daredevil there.
Matt Murdock.
Matt Murdock and I were hanging out. No, it was awesome. Definitely the most money I've ever spent on dinner. But it was worth every penny. It was awesome. Had beer, had wine, had a nice fillet. We had dessert and with scallops for appetizer. Oh my God. Everything was like perfect. It was prompt. Man, I don't think I ever want to live in New York City. It's a really, really fun place to visit. But goddamn, if there was any one reason to move to the city, it would be the food. It would be the food. And I would be a broke man.
Yeah.
I would be a broke man before long. I'd have to be a very rich man before I moved there. But man, like it's kind of unparalleled in terms of like just the availability of food. And honestly, just the fucking cheap pizza alone.
That's true. Like
You cannot, Anna and I have had a conversation about this. You cannot get that fucking cheap kind of pizza in Philly. It just doesn't exist. It's dog shit. Or it's fancy pizza and it's pretty good and it's too fucking expensive for what it is. Like there's no in between. So New York has that market down to a T of just like, yeah, $3 for a fucking slice of pizza and it's good. Like, wow, what a concept. It's crazy. But anyway, it was really fun. Glad we did it. That was our Christmas present to each other. I do have one. We each have one tangible Christmas present to open up on Christmas Day for each other, but we kind of, went for broke and put some money in towards the bus, the show, and food and all that stuff. And it was a good thing, and maybe a thing that we'll do in the future. As kind of a thing we do. So what else have I been up to? Yeah, that's just a few things. Don't worry, I've got more. Let me see if I can roll through some of these a little bit faster. Feel like I'm feeling myself a little too much. I watched a couple new films that have been released in cinemas lately. First of which is House of Gucci. I assume neither of you have seen this.
No.
I'm seeing some head shaking, and I'm also hearing some verbal no's. That usually means that you guys haven't watched it.
No.
House of Gucci is it's a movie.
Okay.
It's a movie is how I would describe it. It's got some Ridley Scott moments in it. Lady Gaga's great in it. Adam Driver's pretty good in it. It's an interesting, compelling story of how the Gucci family basically took their business from, a big thing to not so much. And it's an interesting, it really is actually an interesting story. And I think it's for the most part pretty well told, with some pretty good performances, but it does kind of jump around a lot. It's way too fucking long. And Jared Leto is just the fucking worst. He's
with his
comically
Dr.
bad
Phil
in this.
fucking wig.
It's not even a wig. He's just in full fucking like face prosthetics with the Dr. Phil wig, but like long, mangy, fucking disgusting ass hair. And this motherfucker decided, well, I'm not actually Italian, but let me look at how to do an Italian accent. And this dude spent 60 hours playing Super Mario Brothers. And that was his inspiration. He's just doing the Charles Martinet Mario the whole time.
It's
and,
me,
he's just,
Jared Leto.
It's me, Paolo Gucci. I am an artist. It's me, Mario.
Holy shit.
It's that the whole fucking movie. It literally, it's the most ridiculous, over the top fucking bullshit performance you can imagine. And it's Jared Leto, so he thinks he's fucking great. You know what I mean? Like this dude thinks he's the greatest fucking thing. He's God's gift to Earth, despite the fact that he's terrible in basically every fucking thing that he's ever been in. And he very nearly single-handedly ruins this whole goddamn film. At the very least, it takes it from like a solid like 6.5, 7-ish range to just being like a 5 at best. At best, it's a 5. It's like there are vast portions of this film that are nigh unwatchable. And the first time, it's just like, oh my god, it's just like a face palming kind of thing. Like, wow, no one told this guy no. Like, where's Christopher Plummer when you fucking need him? And R.A.P. But this role needed saving. This role needed some Kevin Spacey type saving right now, and it didn't happen. It just was left in the final product. So I hope that The Last Duel was the better of Ridley Scott's 2 films that came out this year. I didn't see that one either, but, it's got some good haircuts in it, so that probably helped it. So House of Gucci, I would probably skip in terms of recommendation. I really don't think it's a bad film. It's just I didn't need it. I didn't need to see it. I wasn't excited to see it, and I didn't come out of it feeling really unchanged in any way. I just thought it was serviceable for what an interesting story it was, and it could have been better. And I feel bad for Lady Gaga and Adam Driver, and Jeremy Irons was actually legitimately really, really good in it. Jeremy Irons was great in it. But that's about it. That's about all I can say about it. So I'll move on. I'll talk about the next film I saw, which was Encanto, which is the Disney animated film with music from Lin-Manuel Miranda, and stars Stephanie Beatriz and John Leguizamo are like the two like most prominent like voice actors in it. It's basically her whole family's magic, but she doesn't get the magic, and so she has to, deal with that whole sticky situation. And it's a really, really touching, beautiful, beautiful film. The animation is awesome. The design of it is very, very colorful and just enrapturing. Encanto, if you're picking a movie to see that's not Spider-Man No Way Home, Encanto should be the one that you go out and see in theaters, of the ones that I've seen. Maybe West Side Story is good. It probably is. Check it out if you're interested. But Encanto is a really beautiful film. It's really touching. It's just a really kind of great animated film that hits you in the feels in the ways that you're probably expecting it to when you walk in, and then it just does it anyway, and you're like, "Yep, God damn it, Disney, you've done it to me again." It really is kind of in that ballpark of just really, really good stuff. And I think it's a great representation of like non-white culture. You know what I mean? Like it's different. It's making different voices be heard. It's trying to do something different than anything we've seen prior to this. So I really appreciated it for kind of just going for it and I think succeeding. It's magic. It's not super real life, blah blah blah, but it's good. It's got good music. It's got a good message, and it's going to be it's another one like No Way Home that I think is going to be good for all audiences. So recommend that. I don't recommend doing what I did and thinking I'm on a real Daredevil kick. I'm gonna travel back in time to 2003 and watch Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
No, that's my Daredevil. That's my bullseye rub on my forehead. If you can't see it,
bullseye. More peanuts, please. I thought Daredevil, when it came out, was like the coolest shit ever. You know what I mean? Like,
did you see that in the dome when I was on IMAX?
Oh, God. I don't know if we. I don't know if we did. Maybe I'm not sure. I know we saw this shit back in the day, and it was my jam back in the day, because Daredevil 2003, when I was fucking 10 or 11 years old, was goddamn awesome.
I had the soundtrack. I had the CD.
I had the CD too. It was fucking legit, man. You had fucking Fuel on there, and Rob Zombie, and fucking Evanescence. Come on, Evanescence. Bring Me to Life, anyone? My Immortal, goodness. Anyone? Oh my goodness, indeed. It's a relic of its time, is what I'll say about Daredevil 2003. There's a court sequence very early in the film, which, as a lawyer, was the most baffling scene I've ever seen in my life, where I don't even know how to put this. Matt Murdock is like maybe a prosecutor, but he has a client, which is not how that works. But also he's a defense attorney for the rest of the film, which is also not how that works. but then the defendant and maybe it seems like it should be a criminal trial. If it wasn't a criminal trial, it could make sense. It could be a civil case, but it's clearly implied to be a criminal trial. Let's just say none of it makes any fucking sense. And I think that what was cool and like edgy and like grim and dark in like 2003 is just like fucking like kind of just, kind of just fucking lame. It's kind of just lame now, you know what I mean?
The world's so much darker right now.
Yeah, so like, what was like cool and gritty back then is just kind of just like, this is just kind of lame and kind of cringy these days. CGI didn't hold up. Ben Affleck's bad. Jennifer Garner's not very good. Colin Farrell is awesome. He's fucking ridiculous in this movie, and I laughed every time he was on screen because he was fucking ridiculous. He's killing people with fucking paper clips and pencils, and he's just absolutely ridiculous, but in a fun sort of way. And Michael Clark Duncan, rest in peace, I thought was actually a pretty good Kingpin. I think that was inspired casting Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin. But other than that, it's a bad film. I watched the director's cut, which I think is better than the theatrical cut, but it does not stand the test of time. It's not comic booky and fun and campy in the way that the Raimi films were, as we talked about. It's just poorly aged and cringy these days. But I kind of want to watch the Netflix series, so maybe I'll be due for a palate cleanser. You know, too. So there's that, but sorry, Ben, you're a better Batman than you are Daredevil. I will say that. I'll give you that. Not sure that the movies are that much different in terms of quality, but what else? TV show, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Ooh. I am 15, 16-ish episodes into book 2, Earth.
So you met Toph?
Toph is awesome.
Toph is
she like your? I feel like you're like telling me about like
I'm like you're gonna meet one of the best characters in the whole series. Is Toph?
I feel like I laugh every time Toph opens her mouth and says something because she's got like tude. She's got attitude about everything. Very sassy, she's cool and she's sassy. Shit. She's fun
and I don't know. You don't see characters like that all the time, but like they clearly have what like society nowadays views as like a major disability, and she's like, I don't give a shit. I'm the best earthbender in the world.
She's got some Daredevil-esque abilities as long as she's touching solid earth, and she can earthbend. Like she can function just fine. Mm-hmm. She's not it's not a big deal. But it is really cool. There's I feel like there's like a scene where like Sokka like falls into like a cave. He's like, I can't see, and then she's like, oh no, oh my god, can you even imagine? Or like, what a horrible thing, just very funny. Toph is great. I think she's been a really fun addition to the main crew. Right now, Appa has been taken. And I don't know what's going on with Appa. So I don't know what's going on with that. Azula is she's crazy pants, but she's a fun. Nice. Appa's flying through the video screens that I'm looking at right now, which is very, very fun. Azula's she's psycho, but she's a fun kind of like villain for everyone, and it's nice change of pace because I feel like Zuko was getting a little one note, and now Zuko's getting a lot of depth and nuance and characterization, and Iroh is just wants his fucking tea. Anna has told me multiple times that Iroh is the best, and I don't know if I can disagree with her particularly. So
let him brew his tea.
So yeah, Avatar is awesome. Yeah, I'm sure you guys know that. You don't need me to tell you that. So, last two things, and then I promise we're done. Picked up Beat Saber for the PlayStation Virtual Reality. Anna has been wanting to play it. The Billie Eilish commercials had her hooked, and Lady Gaga. There's a Lady Gaga pack that came out like a week or two ago. It's like 9 songs.
Yes,
that was like. Oh, thumbs up. Big thumbs up.
Beat Saber?
Beat Saber is awesome. Okay. It's super, super, super fun. Andrew has it on the Oculus. And so it's great. It's really fun. It's energetic. It gets you moving. You feel exhausted. The sweat. You get the sweat flowing if you go at it for a bit. The Lady Gaga pack is awesome. She did get a couple of the Billie Eilish songs, and much to my chagrin, Radioactive by Imagine Dragons.
Oh boy!
I get the girlfriend Imagine Dragon tickets, and then we have fight, and then she take her sister.
What is that a reference to? I don't know. You'll have to find out on a future episode. It's Hawkeye. Yeah, Beat Saber is it's super, 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 super fun. It's a simple concept, but you crank up the difficulty on some of those songs and they'll fuck you up.
Oh, yeah, real quick.
You know, it's like Rock Band. You know what I mean? Like Rock Band. You know, until you build yourself up, like you're gonna get shredded by. Like I still can't do a lot of songs on expert guitar. I can pretty much do any song on expert drums. Maybe sometimes not all that well, but I can usually survive most of them. But Beat Saber, I'm like struggling on some songs on normal. So
It's like DDR Rock Band.
Huh.
kind of,
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
You gotta duck and do all the shit. It's cool.
Yeah, you're ducking.
All
You're
right.
like, you're swaying side to side to like
Might have
dodge
to-
barriers
yeah.
and shit.
We'll have to try it out when we come over.
Yeah, let
Yeah,
me
you
have to
should.
make sure my
It's
shit's
really fun.
charged. I'll charge it. I'll put it on
It's-
charge tonight.
There
It's
you go.
it's a good easy thing to just like play, like pick up and play, because the concept's very simple. It's just
Just make sure the
Mastering
dog's
it
in a
can be
different
difficult.
room, because I'll
Yeah.
beat the ever loving
make sure
shit
you've
out
got
of Theo.
you got space. Make sure you got plenty of space around you, so you're not whacking anyone, any dogs.
Daddy, what are you doing?
Going into any pillars or columns.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, he wasn't very happy with me. He was a sad boy.
Poor Theo.
Oh no. Last but not least, after apparently 3 months of playing it, I looked as I checked from my trophies. I finished the first Mass Effect,
Okay.
which was part of the Legendary Edition trilogy.
Nice.
I had like 2 seconds of one mission to finish, and then I had to do the final mission where you go up against Saren and the Reaper and all the good stuff from that first one. I forgot how fucking epic the first like game is. Like I am a huge fan of Mass Effect in general. I'm excited for the TV show. I've liked the second game. The third game I have my issues with, but I think it's a solid game overall despite its ending. But I've always been a huge fan of the first one, and while I'll be the first to admit that I think it has some archaic like game playing mechanics and stuff, I think it has without a doubt the best story of any of the Mass Effect games. And I stand by that statement because I was getting goosebumps watching like just how everything played out. And that was after like a month or 2 months of like kind of not really playing the game. I kind of just fell by the wayside for a bit, and so I tried to pick it back up. Like, I'm so close to the end. I got to finish this thing. And so I did. I just grinded out. I just did 2.5 hours last night of just playing through it because I knew I wanted to just like finish it. And it was so satisfying to do that. It's an awesome game. You know, obviously, because it's like an RPG, you kind of craft the story to your liking. You know, there's decisions you can make that can kind of somewhat impact how the thing goes. But I think it all kind of ends with the same broad strokes, and that's that. Man, it just felt so good to finish it, and just felt like I think I reiterate like probably what I said when we talked about the TV show maybe happening with Amazon. Like, if they do it right, it could be one of the best sci-fi shows. Like it just got such potential, from the world building to the characters to just the way that the actual particulars of the story play out in the first Mass Effect.
There's a lot of good shit in there for sure.
They gotta. I just hope they do it right. I hope they do it right. You know, we talked about the Halo stuff because it's just like, it's there. Just do it right. You know, easier said than done, obviously, but I really think the blueprint is right there for you. I think the only difficult thing is like, all right, well, at a certain point you have to decide like which character is going to die, and it's just like, well, how do you handle that in a TV show? Because you have to effectively make the decision for them, or just bypass it entirely and do something different, and that might piss people off too. So I think that's the trouble with adapting something that's like hinged on like your storytelling choices. But anyway, I highly recommend Mass Effect. I'm going to take a break. I want to play some fucking Spider-Man on the PS5.
Ooh,
I never
yeah.
finished Miles Morales, so I want to do that next. And then the Guardians game, I think, is probably what I might fire
Do
up
it.
next too, because I'm in the Marvel fever, and hearing the recommendation is just kind of what I need. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. I have nothing else to offer. I'm sure people wanted to hear another 30 minutes of me going, but sorry to disappoint. That's what I have to say. I've been holding on to that list for a little while. It's been a little while since we recorded last. So yeah. Do we have anything else to discuss, or is it time to wrap it up?
I don't know. Seems about it.
Seems about
I think
it.
that's all I got. I tell you, I had my stuff calibrated. I tell you that.
Your
I feel like I
speakers?
heard
your
it
home theater
in a
stuff.
previous episode. or
Okay,
maybe
all right,
the
that's
last
all I
episode.
got. I just had my stuff calibrated, but that's
I'm
it.
I'm ready to check it out.
Well, we'll check it out tomorrow, man. You're gonna be fucking in Florida tomorrow. Cool.
Yeah, man.
It's going to be pretty cool.
All right. Let's wrap this shit up. It's late. We had a 5-hour episode.
5, 6, 7 hours, something like that. I think we did okay. Given what Spider-Man No Way Home covered, we've done okay. I know it's still long. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying we've done okay for ourselves. So, what I'll say to that is thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/watch, review, repeat, and get early access to all of our regular episodes, as well as timed exclusive access to any bonus episodes that we work on in the future. Website, watchreviewrepeat.com. We're on social media. We're at Twitter. If you just search for @WRRPod. We're also on Facebook. Just search for Watch Review Repeat and you'll find our page and you can like it there. Questions, comments, or suggestions, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. We can do a listener's corner. Haven't done like a proper people emailing us in listener's corner in a bit, so that could be some fun to do post Christmas, post the holidays and stuff. Intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod over at incompetech.com, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. I don't know what we're going to do for our next episode. We have, I think, probably a good amount of choices. Teed up the fact that Hawkeye is basically done. It's got one more episode. I don't know if we need to do 3 Marvel episodes in a row, so maybe we'll punctuate it with something else first. But Matrix is right around the corner.
Yeah.
A couple of days away. I mean, by the time this episode is up, Matrix will be out in theaters. I got to rewatch the fucking Matrix trilogy because I'm not ready for another one right now. Nightmare Alley was sent to die by coming out the same time as Spider-Man, Guillermo del Toro's latest. I want to see it. I know Andrew wants to see it, surely, so maybe it's something that we'll, I think we'll see it. It's just a question of, are we going to cover it? So I don't know. I think we got 3 good options there. We got Christmas, and Andrew's going to be gone for a bit. I'm going to be, in New York for a bit and Florida for a bit. So I'm not sure when recording is going to happen or anything like that, but we'll be back. We'll be back with stuff. So, don't stray too far, and look forward to whatever else we do end up having on tap. And like I said earlier, hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and then I guess a Happy New Year. Yeah. So thank you, Enrique, for hanging out with us for another episode and some more Marvel stuff. And I expect we'll have you back for Hawkeye whenever that happens.
I'm ready. I was ready for this. I will be ready for Hawkeye, but thanks for having me.
Good.
Are you going to watch it tonight?
No, I'm going to catch it sometime tomorrow.
We can watch the finale tomorrow.
Oh, shit. There you go.
Oh, look at that. Look at that planning happening live on air. Oh, my goodness.
All right.
There you go.
Well,
there you have it, folks. Andrew,
heard it here
why don't you take us out? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
All right. Well, take care now. Bye-bye then.
Laters on the Menjay.